Chapter 1744. The dragon clan was excited. The Empyrean fairy looked at this scene and took a deep look at Tang Zheng, who was the cause of all this. He seemed to have a great charm. No matter where he was, he could set off stormy waves and stir up the wind and clouds. As for the old dragon domain, it was really worth investigating. The Empyrean fairy's blood seemed to be boiling, and her eyes shone with brilliance. Tang Zheng and the other dragon clan members raised their arms and shouted together. Their shouts echoed in the sky above the dragon palace for a long time. After a long time, everything calmed down. Tang Zheng and the Dragon King looked at each other. Tang Zheng said, "Dragon King, you should know where the ancient dragon domain is. We will set off after we are fully prepared." The Dragon King nodded heavily. He had no objections. The dragon slayers still occupied the dragon clan's ancient home. This point poked at the Dragon King's sore spot. A great sense of shame shrouded his heart. If he did not wash away the shame, not only would he be letting down the dragon clan's ancestors, but he would also be letting down the dragon god. At the thought of the dragon god, the Dragon King could not help but become excited. Tang Zheng had fused with the dragon god fragment and had a natural sense of oppression towards the dragon clan. The remaining dragon god fragments were hidden in the higher floors of Langya. As long as someone stepped up first, they would definitely be able to fuse with the dragon god fragment. It was clear how big of a gain this was. Ever since Tang Zheng left the dragon domain, the Dragon King thought about it and finally told the entire dragon clan that the dragon god fragment was in Langya. Of course, this also allowed the dragon clan's history to be completely revealed to the dragon clan for the first time. However, it was not as bad as the Dragon King had expected. On the contrary, everyone's attention was attracted by the dragon god fragment. This greatly stimulated the dragon clan's passion for cultivation. Almost every dragon clan member put in all their effort to cultivate the advanced version of the dragon god technique. Once they cultivated to the corresponding level, they would be able to go to the remaining floors. Not only would they be able to obtain the sacred weapons, but they would also be able to obtain the dragon god fragment. This was too exciting. No dragon clan member could resist it. Even the Dragon King was no exception. The Dragon King already had the dragon's shadow blade. The 3 sacred patterns showed the grade and power of the dragon's shadow blade. The Dragon King no longer had a strong impulse towards magic treasures. What he wanted the most now was the dragon god fragment. Once he fused with the dragon god fragment, there would be a qualitative change, and he might even become a new dragon god. Just thinking about it made him so excited that he couldn't control himself. The dragon envoys retreated to prepare and mobilize the army, while the Dragon King went straight to the final seclusion. They agreed to set off in 3 days to march into the ancient homeland of the dragon race. Even though 3 days seemed like a long time, it was actually not long at all. The few dragon envoys had to work hard in order to reorganize their army and prepare to depart in 3 days. This was not a single person, but an entire army. Even Tang Zheng had never experienced something like this before, so he could only let the dragon envoy make the preparations. "I can't afford to waste these 3 days. Now that I'm at the 9th stage of the Grand Ascension stage, I should be able to upgrade my dragon god arts again. It's a pity that I've been too busy recently and haven't had the energy to cultivate the advanced version of the dragon god technique. These 3 days are a godsend opportunity. Sharpening one's spear before the battle, even if it wasn't fast, it would still be bright." Tang Zheng decided to cultivate before the big battle. He glanced in the direction where the Dragon King disappeared and guessed that the Dragon King seemed to have the same idea. The Dragon King was definitely determined to get the dragon god fragment, and he could not fall behind. If he could fuse with the dragon god fragment, he would have a huge leap. Was the 9th stage of the Grand Ascension stage the end of cultivation? No. He got the answer from Hao Tianwang. The 9th stage of the Grand Ascension stage was not the end. Perhaps it was a starting point. As long as he could cross this hurdle, he might start a new chapter. Now that he had comprehended the heavenly way and the Tao, but he was still at the 9th stage of the Grand Ascension stage. How could he make such a qualitative leap? The Dragon God Fragment. He pinned his hopes on the Dragon God Fragment. At least for now, his hopes were pinned on the Dragon God Fragment. He instructed the Golden Dragon to bring the 9 Heavens Profound Maiden to visit the Dragon region. The Golden Dragon wanted to say something but hesitated. It had something to say to Tang Zheng, but seeing that he was in a hurry to cultivate, it did not say anything. Tang Zheng was so focused on cultivating that he did not notice the Golden Dragon's abnormality. In a secret place in the Dragon Palace, Tang Zheng abandoned all distracting thoughts and immersed his mind into the Dragon Mark. He activated the advanced version of the Dragon God technique, and rays of golden light emerged from the Dragon Mark on his forehead. Not long after, he transformed into a true dragon. He raised his head high and his huge dragon body coiled up. His entire body was bathed in an intense golden light. He was already familiar with cultivating the advanced version of the Dragon God technique. The Dragon God technique had always been closely related to one's cultivation. Now that Tang Zheng had raised his cultivation by 2 levels, the Dragon God technique's improvement was also a matter of course. However, Tang Zheng was still shocked by the speed of his improvement. He had not been circulating the advanced version of the Dragon God technique for too long, and he had a feeling that a breakthrough was imminent. This was easier than any of the previous breakthroughs of the Dragon God technique. It was as if it was at his fingertips. One had to know that this was the advanced version of the Dragon God technique, not the Dragon God technique. This was an advanced version of the Dragon God technique that was harder to break through as one progressed. Otherwise, with the Dragon King's cultivation, how could he stop at the 10th level of Langya? The change this time made Tang Zheng overjoyed. He quickly calmed his mind and allowed the advanced version of the Dragon God technique to circulate wildly. The dragon's aura emitted from his body spread in all directions. Even the thick walls could not stop it. The dragon guards outside suddenly changed their expressions. They all knelt in this direction and trembled. They did not dare to show the slightest bit of disrespect. Tang Zheng was completely unaware. He was completely immersed in the wonderful feeling of the advanced version of the Dragon God technique. Boom! 2 rays of golden light shot out from his eyes. Wherever it passed, the air burned and turned into 2 bundles of flames. The walls collapsed with a loud bang. The second stage of the advanced version of the Dragon God technique. Tang Zheng was overjoyed. There was a voice in his heart that was cheering. His excited emotions could not be calmed down. However, before he could savor it, he was shocked by another sign. The advanced version of the Dragon God technique was restless. There seemed to be signs of another breakthrough. Breaking through 2 levels in one go. Was this really possible? This was soaring to the sky in one go. One had to know that the Dragon King had been cultivating the advanced version of the Dragon God technique. After such a long time, he did not have any new breakthroughs. However, Tang Zheng actually improved by leaps and bounds in such a short period of time. It was really unbelievable. Apart from the great increase in my cultivation, it must be because of the Dragon God fragment. I have fused with the Dragon God fragment, which is originally helpful for cultivating the Dragon clan's remarkable abilities. It is naturally no exception for cultivating the advanced version of the Dragon God technique. The combination of the 2 resulted in the current effect. Tang Zheng silently analyzed and found the reason. He was still excited. No matter what the reason was, the result was the most important. He was about to break through to the 3rd stage of the advanced version of the Dragon God technique. Could this succeed? If it succeeded, he would be able to ascend 2 levels in one go. Not only would he be able to obtain 2 divine weapons in Langya, but most importantly, he would be able to fuse with 2 Dragon God fragments. 1 Dragon God fragment had benefited him greatly. If he fused with 2 more, what would he become? Would he break through the ceiling above his head? Chapter 1745. Boom! Another loud noise was heard. The vital energy in Tang Zheng's body surged, almost breaking through the restraints of his meridians and surging out of his body. Phew! Tang Zheng took a deep breath and suppressed this momentum. The corner of his mouth curled up into a smile. The third stage. He muttered softly, completely lacking the world-shaking aura he had when he was at the second level. Instead, it was natural and unperturbed like an ancient well. He succeeded. He soared to the sky in one go and cultivated the third stage of the advanced version of the Dragon God technique. Time is of the essence, I don't have the chance to slowly experience it. Let's go to Langya first. With a thought, his divine sense completely entered Langya. He didn't go to the upright Langya first. Instead, he went to the inverted Langya, where the Dragon God fragment was. Compared to the sacred weapon, the Dragon God fragment was more attractive to him. The inverted Langya. When Tang Zheng looked at the scene in front of him, he muttered to himself, I haven't heard of other dragons going to the 11th floor. The Dragon God fragment should still be there. Dong dong dong. He went down the stairs and went straight to the 11th floor of Langya. Not long after, another figure also appeared in the inverted Langya. Dragon King. He also entered Langya. His aura was actually quite different from before. He had also broken through the second stage of the advanced version. He followed Tang Zheng's footsteps to Langya and went straight to the inverted Langya. Their goal was the Dragon God fragment. Tang Zheng didn't know that there were pursuers behind him. He had already arrived at the 11th floor of Langya. As expected, he easily reached the 11th floor. A ball of golden light floated in midair. If it wasn't the Dragon God fragment, what else could it be? Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief. Since the Dragon God fragment on the 11th floor was still there, it meant that he was the first one to arrive here. He was secretly relieved that he didn't break through the advanced version of the Dragon God technique in time. He almost made a big mistake and gave away the Dragon God fragment. There were many geniuses in the dragon race. If someone beat him to it, he wouldn't even have a place to cry. Merging the Dragon God fragment was a complicated project, but he already had experience. Moreover, he already had a part of the Dragon God fragment in his body. Therefore, when he activated his power, both parts of the Dragon God fragment worked. There was actually a strong attractive force. Whoosh! He flew up and flew towards the golden light in the air. Huh! Tang Zheng was surprised. Last time, he had to absorb the Dragon God fragment before he could fuse with it, but this time, he directly flew towards the Dragon God fragment. It seemed that every time he absorbed a Dragon God fragment, there would be new changes. He was completely drawn into the Dragon God fragment and bathed in golden light, making it impossible to see his appearance clearly. Coincidentally, the Dragon King had also reached the 11th floor. He was originally full of hope, but he was dealt a blow to the head. He was dumbstruck as he looked at the scene before him. The Dragon King almost lost his composure and screamed. He had never expected that someone would beat him to it. The Dragon God fragment. He stared at the ball of golden light and immediately determined that it was the Dragon God fragment. The powerful dragon might emitted from it could not be faked. He swallowed his saliva. He was a little angry, but he was also a little unwilling. Who was it? He was actually faster than him, reaching this level one step ahead of him. Who was more talented than him? He couldn't figure it out. He stared at the golden light unwillingly. Although he could not see the figure clearly, there was no doubt that this person's cultivation was not weak. No. Suddenly, the Dragon King let out a shout as he discovered something unusual. How could he find other dragons in Langya? Every dragon in Langya was relatively independent. They each went their own way and did not interfere with each other. Otherwise, with so many dragons, there would definitely be dragons entering Langya at the same time. Wouldn't that make Langya a vegetable market? It was precisely this independence that ensured that every dragon in Langya would have their own gains. Moreover, they could cultivate in Langya without worrying about being disturbed. At this moment, what did the Dragon King see? He actually saw another dragon wrapped in golden light and floating in midair. Another dragon appeared in front of him. This was something that was impossible, but he quietly discovered it in front of him. What did this mean? What exactly caused all this? The Dragon King was stunned and could not speak for a long time. Seeing that the golden light was getting lesser and lesser, which meant that the Dragon God fragment was getting lesser and lesser. It was obvious that the other party had merged with it. The Dragon King came back to his senses and looked at this scene unwillingly. No, how can I let others have the Dragon God fragment for free? I have to find a way to merge with it. He tried to soar into the air. Bang! But before he could jump too high, he fell back down heavily, his feet hitting the ground. What's going on? He could not fly in the air. Although the golden light was not far away, it seemed to be far away. Why can that person fly up but I, the Dragon King, can't? He was unwilling to admit defeat. He tried a few more times and his feet hit the ground a few times. Only then did he have to give up and recognize the cruel reality. There was something strange about Langya. He could not fly in the air, let alone get close to the Dragon God fragment and merge with it. He could only watch as the Dragon God fragment was taken away by someone else. He looked at it with envy and jealousy. He wished he could replace it, but that was just a fool's dream. Of course, Tang Jing did not know that he could fly in the air and fly directly into the Dragon God fragment because of the part of the Dragon God fragment that he had merged with in the past. The two parts of the Dragon God fragment had an instinctive attraction. It cancelled out Tang Zhang's restraint and allowed him to fly freely toward the Dragon God fragment. He did not know that his every move was seen by the Dragon King, nor did he know that others had entered the 11th level. His whole body and mind were on the Dragon God fragment. He kept absorbing the Dragon God fragment and his body began to change. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Golden light shot out from his body and dyed this level of Langya golden. His body quickly changed and turned into a true dragon. The dragon horns on his head grew rapidly, showing even more dragon power. The dragon scales all over his body were dazzling and had undergone an earth-shattering change. The Dragon King looked at this scene in a daze. He was envious. If he had been a little earlier, all these changes would have happened to him and not this guy. That was because Tang Zhang had turned into a true dragon. Although the golden light gradually dissipated and he revealed his true appearance, the Dragon King did not recognize him immediately. He racked his brains to compare the powerhouses of the Dragon clan. Who was more powerful than him? The early bird caught the worm first. But after comparing for a while, he still could not come to a conclusion. Roar! Tang Zhang's dragon roar resounded throughout Langya. He raised his head high. He did not see the Dragon King at all, but the dragon power of the Dragon God was emitted and covered the sky. Thump! Chapter 1746. Tang Zhang's dragon might gradually dissipated, and the golden light around his body also disappeared. Only then did he lower his head and happened to see the Dragon King kneeling on the ground. Elegant and refined. He was shocked and hurriedly turned into a human and landed in front of the Dragon King. He exclaimed, "Dragon King, why are you here?" The Dragon King stood up in a sorry state and said with a resentful expression, "I have already broken through to the second tier of the advanced version and reached the 11th floor." He felt bitter in his mouth. What was the use of reaching the 11th floor? Tang Zhang had beaten him to it. He didn't even get the Dragon God fragment. Tang Zhang looked at the Dragon King with a burning gaze, as if he had guessed his thoughts. He smiled bitterly and said, "I also just broke through and then came here. This is your opportunity." The Dragon King shook his head and comforted himself. "I will definitely work harder to comprehend the advanced version of the Dragon God technique and strive to reach the 12th floor as soon as possible to fuse with the Dragon God fragment." The Dragon King was naturally not someone who would be defeated so easily. His fighting spirit was instantly reignited. Tang Zhang touched his nose, not knowing where to start. The Dragon King frowned and asked, "If you have something to say, please say it." Tang Zhang said softly, "Actually, I can already reach the 12th floor." What? The Dragon King was shocked and asked in bewilderment, "You have broken through to the 3rd tier of the advanced version?" "Yes." Tang Zheng nodded. The Dragon King's eyes instantly dimmed as he experienced what despair was. He was originally full of confidence that he would break through to the third tier of the advanced version first. Who would have thought that Tang Zheng had already broken through? Wasn't this a slap in the face? How could he still be ahead of Tang Zheng? He was clearly left far behind by Tang Zheng. He could not catch up. The Dragon King's proud head involuntarily drooped down, as if all the energy in his body had been sucked away. Don't be discouraged. Maybe next time you break through a few tiers, you will naturally be able to reach a higher floor. Tang Zheng comforted. The corner of the Dragon King's mouth twitched. Breaking through several levels at once? Do you think it's so easy? Do you think everyone is as abnormal as you? If someone else was one step ahead of him, then that person would be leading by every step. Naturally, the Dragon God fragment would be cut off from him, and almost all of it would be taken by Tang Zheng for himself. He didn't want to admit this, but he had no choice but to accept reality. Sigh, he heaved a long, heavy sigh, and stopped thinking about it. Tang Zheng was helpless and didn't know where to start. He was still in a hurry to go to the next floor. He was about to turn around when he suddenly stared at the Dragon King with an incredulous look in his eyes. Dragon King, why can we see each other now? Tang Zheng's exclamation pulled the Dragon King out of his self-pity. The Dragon King also stared at Tang Zheng with a burning gaze. He had also been thinking about this problem before. You don't know the answer either, the Dragon King asked. Tang Zheng looked around thoughtfully and said, maybe it has something to do with the advanced version of the Dragon God technique, or this Langya Pavilion? The Dragon King nodded as if he had understood something. He was also inclined to this answer. I'll figure out the answer later. I'm going to go to the 12th floor first. Tang Zheng had to take advantage of the time to go to the next floor to integrate the Dragon God fragment. Otherwise, it would be terrible if he was kicked out of the Langya Pavilion. The Dragon King wanted to say something but stopped. He couldn't hide the envy in his eyes. He really wanted to go to the 12th floor himself. Seeing that the Dragon King didn't say anything, Tang Zheng looked at him deeply and resolutely turned around to go to the 12th floor. The Dragon King watched him leave with envy and jealousy as he disappeared at the top of the stairs. He moved to the stairs leading to the 12th floor and tried to take a step. With a bang, he was bounced back and staggered a few steps back before stabilizing his body. He shook his head in despair and looked at the stairs reluctantly. He knew that he was really cut off from the Dragon God fragment. After a long while, he collected his emotions and turned to leave quickly. He went straight to the other Langya Pavilion. However, when he reached the 11th floor, the Dragon King's angry roar came from the 11th floor and resounded throughout the Langya Pavilion. When Tang Zheng reached the 12th floor, it was the same as before. A ball of golden light floated in the air, and with his experience, he tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and directly flew up. Whoosh whoosh. The Dragon God fragment quickly integrated with him. It was perfect. He transformed into a dragon again. His dragon horns had increased a little, and his body had almost doubled in size. He was full of dragon's might. Finally, he integrated the Dragon God fragment again. He felt that he had endless strength and was full of fighting spirit. He couldn't wait to find someone to fight. This feeling was really awesome. He reluctantly left the Langya Pavilion. Suddenly, a roar came from afar. Although it was very weak, it didn't escape his ears. He was shocked. Wasn't that the Dragon King's voice? He had just left not long ago. Why was he so angry? Could it be that he had encountered some danger? Could it be that the Dragon Slayer had come? But he didn't sense the Dragon Slayer. There must be something wrong. He quickly searched in the direction of the voice. Soon, he came to the other Langya Pavilion. When he saw this Langya Pavilion, he couldn't help but feel emotional. This Langya Pavilion was also full of treasures. However, compared to the Dragon God fragment, it seemed to pale in comparison. Even the so-called 8 great sacred weapons were the same. Oh right, the battle is imminent. If there is one more sacred weapon, it will naturally increase the battle power. I'll go upstairs and take out the sacred weapon first. In addition, he was also very curious about what the Dragon King had encountered. When he reached the 11th floor, he saw the Dragon King standing there in a daze. His whole body was emitting an angry aura. He asked anxiously, "Dragon King, what happened?" The Dragon King suddenly turned his head and stared at Tang Zheng. His eyes were burning with flames. "You've been here?" Tang Zheng shook his head blankly. "No, I went to the other Langya pavilion first." The Dragon King suddenly pointed at the empty shelf in the middle. "What about the sacred weapon here?" "Sacred weapon?" Tang Zheng was shocked. He stared blankly at the empty shelf. Without a doubt, there must have been something on it. However, it was gone now. It turned out that they had always judged that the 8 great sacred weapons of the Dragon Clan were placed in the remaining floors of the Langya Pavilion. The last time they took a sacred weapon from here, it also confirmed this point. But now, they were empty-handed. What did this mean? It was indeed worth thinking about and thought-provoking. Seeing that the Dragon King was unable to restrain his anger, Tang Zheng could understand his feelings. He said thoughtfully, "Could it be that the Dragon Clan had also comprehended the advanced version of the second level and came here first?" The Dragon Clan didn't lack geniuses. The advanced version of the Dragon God technique was imparted to every Dragon Clan member. Then, there might be a Dragon Clan member who comprehended the second level first and took away the sacred weapon. The Dragon King's eyes lit up. Who else in the Dragon Clan has this ability? Chapter 1747. The Fortune of the Dragon Clan? The Dragon King did not agree with this point and said indignantly, "Who else in the Dragon Clan has such talent?" The Dragon King knew the situation of the Dragon Clan very well. If there was someone with exceptional talent, they would have escaped from the clan long ago. After all, the Dragon Clan was not like the human world where there would be some powerful hermits. The Dragon Clan was a race that thirsted for power. If they had the strength, they would definitely not hide in the mountains and do things like that. "When we leave Langya Pavilion, we will naturally know." Tang Zheng comforted. The Dragon King was still angry, but there was nothing he could do. Tang Zheng glanced at the staircase and said, "The sacred weapon on this floor is no longer here, but the one on the 12th floor is definitely here. I will go and get it." The Dragon King's heart sank. Tang Zheng could say these words so casually, but he could not do anything about it. He was still hoping for the 11th floor. As for the 12th floor, that was a place he did not dare to hope for. Tang Zheng did not care about the Dragon King's complicated thoughts and went straight to the 12th floor, leaving the Dragon King to look at his back reluctantly. On the 12th floor, Tang Zheng's eyes were attracted by a scene as soon as he reached the top. An umbrella floated quietly in the air, emitting a mysterious light. What kind of magic treasure is this? Tang Zheng's eyes widened in surprise. No matter what kind of magic treasure it was, he had to get it first. He reached out his hand and a huge suction force enveloped the magic treasure, causing it to struggle. Whoosh! The umbrella opened up, and multicolored rays of light scattered in all directions, overflowing with light and vibrant colors. It was exceptionally beautiful. A powerful force surged from the umbrella, and the 3 sacred patterns on the umbrella were especially eye-catching. 3 sacred patterns. Tang Zheng was shocked. This sacred weapon was indeed extraordinary. It actually only had 3 sacred patterns. Although it was not as simple as the sacred patterns on the hidden mysterious sword, it was not complicated either. The mighty force fought back against Tang Zheng's suction force, but in the end, it could not resist and flew into Tang Zheng's palm. A wave of energy surged through Tang Zheng's body. He lowered his head and found that there were many beautiful decorative patterns on the umbrella. Hee, the limitless umbrella, so gaudy, this is a magic weapon for women, right? Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily. When the magic weapon entered his hand, the name of the magic weapon naturally appeared in his mind. The limitless umbrella was the name of this magic treasure. This Wuji umbrella definitely has a big background. The Dragon King definitely knows about it. When he went downstairs to look for the Dragon King, he found that the Dragon King was no longer in the Langya Pavilion. Huh? Did the Dragon King leave first? Impossible. The Dragon King was so obsessed with the divine relic. How could he leave without taking a look? There was definitely something fishy going on. He quickly left the Langya Pavilion, but he felt a little strange. It seemed that he had been in the Langya Pavilion for quite some time, but he was not kicked out. This was very strange. Bang bang bang. Before he had the time to reflect on his trip to Langya Pavilion, there was a heavy knock on the door of the secret chamber. It sounded like someone was in a hurry. He frowned and muttered to himself, "Don't you know that I'm cultivating? Why are you knocking on the door so anxiously?" He shook his head and walked out. When he opened the door, he saw many people standing at the door, staring at him with bright eyes. Among them were the Dragon King, the Dragon Envoy, the Empyrean Fairy, and the Golden Dragon. The Dragon King left without saying goodbye in the Langya Pavilion. "Why are you looking for me in such a hurry?" He muttered to himself, but before he could ask, the Dragon King spoke first. "What is the divine relic on the 12th floor?" Tang Jing smiled knowingly. So that was what he wanted to know. With a thought, a beam of light rose from his hand and immediately attracted the gazes of all the people present. The limitless umbrella. The Dragon King stared at this scene with burning eyes and cried out involuntarily. The other dragon envoys also looked at the limitless umbrella excitedly. This was the legendary divine relic with unparalleled power. They did not expect it to appear so soon. The Empyrean Fairy secretly praised it for its beauty. She was deeply attracted by the aura of the limitless umbrella. Seeing that everyone recognized the divine relic, Tang Jing asked curiously, "The limitless umbrella must have a great background. Why don't the Dragon King explain it to everyone?" The Dragon King said emotionally, "The limitless umbrella is a magical treasure refined by a dragon envoy of the dragon clan hundreds of thousands of years ago. It was not a divine relic at first, but after continuous refinement and upgrading by the dragon envoy, the limitless umbrella finally became a divine relic." "Oh, this dragon envoy is indeed powerful," Tang Jing praised. "Of course," the Dragon King echoed. "This dragon envoy is the first female dragon envoy since ancient times." Female dragon envoy? Tang Jing was stunned for a moment. His gaze fell on the limitless umbrella. From what he knew, the dragon clan was a male-dominated world. Be it experts or those in power, they were almost all men. To be able to sit on the throne of the dragon envoy in such a male-dominated society, one had to admit that she was too powerful. The hard work and talent she had put in was definitely top-notch. Tang Jing could not help but feel some admiration in his heart. The Dragon King sighed. "I didn't expect the Dragon Envoy's magical treasure to be placed on the 12th floor. Now that this divine relic has reappeared, it is the Dragon Clan's fortune." Tang Jing looked around and realized that the Dragon King and the Dragon Envoy were all men. He said thoughtfully, "This limitless umbrella is a female magical treasure, right?" "This." The Dragon King and the Dragon Envoy were stunned. They only thought that the divine relic would reappear, but they did not expect that this divine relic would have a limitation. The limitless umbrella was different from other magical treasures. Usually, the mark of a magical treasure's gender was not strong. After all, if the previous owner was a man, the next owner could be a woman. However, the limitless umbrella was different. It was in the hands of the Dragon Envoy from the moment it was born. It was also the result of the Dragon Envoy's hundreds and thousands of years of hard work. Every time it was refined and upgraded, it was based on the Dragon Envoy's habits. The higher the grade of the limitless umbrella, the deeper the mark. In the end, it became an inseparable part of the limitless umbrella. Therefore, after the Dragon Envoy died, the limitless umbrella was never passed down to the next Dragon Clan member. This was because no Dragon Clan member was qualified to use this divine relic. There was no more female Dragon Clan member who was qualified to use the limitless umbrella. The limitless umbrella was like a pearl covered in dust, never to shine again. The Dragon King and the Dragon Envoy looked at each other. They were troubled by the situation in front of them. All the Dragon Envoys wanted a divine relic, but no one was willing to take the limitless umbrella. An unsuitable divine relic was not much more powerful than a heaven-level magical treasure. In fact, it could even ruin things at critical moments. Therefore, none of the Dragon Envoys had the intention to take it. Everyone had the same look in their eyes. Why was it the limitless umbrella? If it was any other magical treasure, they would give up on it no matter what. The limitless umbrella is a magical treasure of the Dragon Clan after all. Let's keep it first. It will come in handy in the future. The Dragon King said resentfully. Tang Jing did not expect this to be the result. However, he saw through their thoughts and suddenly had a plan. Chapter 1748. Tang Jing had an idea. He looked at the Empyrean Fairy and said, Dragon King, since the Wuji umbrella is useless for the time being, why don't we give it to someone who can use it first? What do you have in mind? The Dragon King looked at Tang Jing curiously. The other dragons also looked at Tang Jing. Tang Jing smiled and said, the Wuji umbrella is a divine weapon specifically targeted at females, right? All the dragons nodded. Don't we have a female expert here? Isn't the Wuji umbrella suitable for her? Tang Jing said meaningfully. Female expert? Where is she? The dragons looked at each other, but did not find any female expert. The Dragon King had an idea and his eyes fell on the Fairy of the Nine Heavens. He asked in surprise, are you referring to her? Yes. Tang Jing nodded. The other Dragon Clan suddenly realized that Tang Jing was beating around the bush, and was actually referring to the mysterious Lady of the Nine Heavens. What kind of expert is she? The Dragon Envoy was indignant. They were not willing to let an outsider take advantage of the Dragon Clan's divine weapon. The Empyrean Fairy felt strange, but she did not refute Tang Jing. At the same time, she looked at the Wuji umbrella that was emitting light. Without a doubt, this divine weapon was very attractive to her. If there was a chance to get this divine weapon, she would definitely not reject it. Who doesn't think she's an expert? Tang Jing looked around with a half-smile. A Dragon Envoy stood up and said, I don't believe it. It's okay if you don't believe it. After the challenge, we'll see. Tang Jing glanced at the Dragon Envoy. He was also in the Mahayana realm, but the Empyrean Fairy was still a little weaker. The Dragon Envoy was eager to try and stared at the Empyrean Fairy. His provocation could not be more obvious. The Empyrean Fairy was calm and did not seem to care about the challenge at all. The Dragon Envoy thought that she was afraid and became even more arrogant. Tang Jing's lips curled into a smile, but he didn't say anything. Stand down. The Dragon King suddenly shouted. Don't make a fool of yourself. The Dragon King's discerning eyes could certainly see through the Empyrean Fairy. The Dragon Envoy's face turned red, but he did not dare to disobey the Dragon King's order. He retreated resentfully. The Dragon King and Tang Jing looked into each other's eyes. Neither of them flinched. Tang Jing's eyes were firm. Tang Jing had made up his mind, and the Dragon King had obviously seen through it. Tang Jing was not an overbearing person. He was the one who obtained the limitless umbrella, so he had the right to distribute it. Moreover, this was only a temporary measure. In order to prepare for the upcoming battle, the Wuji umbrella could help the Empyrean Fairy increase her battle strength. Naturally, it would also increase their overall strength. This was a matter of many benefits and no harm, so why not? Alright, I'll lend the Wuji umbrella to her temporarily. However, this is the sacred weapon of the Dragon Clan. It must be returned to the Dragon Clan in the future. We can't let it fall into the hands of outsiders, the Dragon King compromised. No problem, Tang Jing agreed. With a tap of his finger, the Wuji umbrella flew in front of the Empyrean Fairy. The Empyrean Fairy was immediately attracted by the 3 sacred patterns on the umbrella. Her breathing became rapid. This limitless umbrella was too extraordinary. She couldn't wait to try out its might. Study it carefully. There's a big battle coming up, and we'll need it, Tang Zheng reminded. The Empyrean fairy nodded heavily. She reached out and grabbed the Wuji umbrella. Immediately, a surge of energy spread throughout her body. She was full of fighting spirit and couldn't wait to fight for 3 days and 3 nights. Not only did the Dragon King not fuse with the Dragon God fragment, he didn't even get a single sacred weapon. Furthermore, he had to watch the sacred weapon being handed over to someone else. The Dragon King was extremely depressed. However, he suddenly thought of something else. His eyes lit up and he said, since the 12th floor is the Wuji umbrella, then the 11th floor must be another sacred weapon. Where's this sacred weapon? Why didn't we see a trace of it? Yes, where's the sacred weapon on the 11th floor? Who got it first? The other dragon ambassadors started to stir up a commotion. The Dragon King stared at Tang Zheng without blinking. It was as if he knew the whereabouts of the sacred weapon. Of course, Tang Zheng did not know. He spread out his hands and said, I don't know either. I'm fine too. However, it must have fallen into the hands of the Dragon Clan. The Dragon King gathered the experts of the Dragon Clan. Naturally, there will be an answer. How could the Dragon King not know this? After he was forced to leave the Langya Pavilion, he had already gathered the dragon ambassadors to discuss this matter. However, in the end, they did not discover such an expert at all. They walked into a dead end and there was only darkness in front of them. Seeing that the Dragon King was silent, Tang Zheng knew that his words would be useless. He shrugged helplessly and was about to say that he could not help. However, the Golden Dragon stopped Tang Zheng and said, Master, there's something I've always wanted to tell you, but I didn't have the chance. Let's talk about it later. Tang Zheng waved his hand and said. The Dragon King and the Dragon Ambassadors glared at the Golden Dragon. They were talking about serious matters now. Who would have the time to talk about your business? The Golden Dragon understood what they meant. However, he took a deep breath and forced himself to say, Master, I really do have something to tell you. What are you doing? One of the Dragon Ambassadors could not stand it anymore and scolded him. Tang Zheng was very protective of his people. How could he bear to see others scold his people? He rolled his eyes and encouraged the Golden Dragon, saying, What's the matter? Say it now. I'm listening. Seeing Tang Zheng's attitude, the other Dragon Ambassadors were indignant but could not do anything. They could only look at the Golden Dragon quietly to see what was so important that he had to say at this time. Master, I've made a breakthrough in the advanced version of the Dragon God technique, the Golden Dragon said. What? You've made a breakthrough? Congratulations. Tang Zheng did not react immediately and instinctively felt happy. However, he immediately realized that the Golden Dragon must have had a deeper meaning at this critical time. After all, the Golden Dragon was not stupid. Tang Zheng stared at the Golden Dragon seriously and asked, What level of the advanced version are you at now? The 2nd level. The Golden Dragon said embarrassedly. My improvement was not fast. I spent a lot of effort and time to cross these 2 hurdles step by step. What? The Dragon King and the Dragon Ambassadors reacted first and stole the limelight from Tang Zheng. You said you've already cultivated to the 2nd level of the advanced version of the Dragon God technique? The Dragon King asked angrily. The Golden Dragon nodded bitterly. Yes. Then when did you reach the 2nd level? The Dragon King asked. The others also wanted this answer and looked at the Golden Dragon. A few days ago, before Master came to the Dragon City. I was so happy to see Master that I forgot about this for a moment. Actually, I've always wanted to tell you, but I didn't have the chance. As soon as he said this, the group of dragons exploded. They were completely outdone, and even the Dragon King was outdone. The Dragon King's starting point was higher than the Golden Dragon's, but his gains and achievements were not as good as the Golden Dragon's. This was enough to explain a lot of problems. Suddenly, everyone looked at the Golden Dragon in a different light. In addition, wouldn't the question that puzzled everyone be easily solved, and the answer would be obvious? Chapter 1749. Seeing that everyone was looking at him, the golden dragon lowered his head shyly and explained, I didn't mean to hide it. I just didn't have the time to tell you. The Dragon King had mixed feelings and asked, you took the divine artifact from the 11th floor, right? The golden dragon nodded. Although everyone was mentally prepared, they were still shocked when the truth was revealed. They looked at the golden dragon with mixed feelings. Back then, the Dragon King gave the order that the divine artifact would belong to whoever obtained it first, right? The golden dragon asked anxiously. Once he returned to the dragon clan, the golden dragon's role changed drastically. In the human world, he was a high and mighty member of the dragon clan and would not allow anyone to disobey him. But in the dragon clan, he was just an ordinary member and did not receive any special treatment. The golden dragon understood that treasuring a treasure would arouse the envy of others, so he was afraid that the divine artifact would be taken away. Tang Jing already understood that the divine artifact had fallen into the golden dragon's hands. He smiled and said loudly, Golden Dragon, your worries are unnecessary. Since the Dragon King gave this order, his words are not to be trifled with. The Dragon King gave this order to encourage everyone to work hard in their cultivation. How could the Dragon King go back on his words? Although he also coveted the divine artifact, he could not slap his own face. Even though the other dragon envoys were looking at him with burning eyes, the Dragon King nodded and said, Of course. The golden dragon heaved a sigh of relief and smiled, Thank you, Dragon King. The Dragon King urged, Then let everyone see what kind of divine artifact you have. Yes. The golden dragon raised his hand excitedly and a ball of golden light appeared in his palm. The golden light grew bigger and bigger. Whoosh! The golden light grew longer and revealed its true appearance. It was a whip shining with golden light. But it was different from ordinary magic treasures. It emitted a soul-stirring power. Even though everyone present was a powerhouse, when they sensed this power, their hearts wavered unsteadily. Holy whip! The Dragon King cried out. Hiss! The other dragon envoys gasped and stared at the holy whip with envy. The golden dragon nodded. Yes, this is the holy whip. Tang Zheng and the Empyrean fairy didn't know the inside story, so they asked curiously, why? Deity striking whip, that's a pretty impressive name. What's its use? The golden dragon glanced at the Dragon King and the dragon envoy and said, The power of the holy whipping whip is very strong. Once hit by the holy whipping whip, those with weaker cultivation will have their spirit destroyed. Even those with stronger cultivation will have their spirit damaged. Tang Zheng and the Empyrean fairy felt a chill run down their spines. Who would have thought that the holy whip would be so powerful? No wonder the dragon race would turn pale at the mere mention of it. The Dragon King sighed. I didn't expect you to have the great divine whip. Tang Zheng could guess what the other dragons were thinking. Perhaps they were jealous and dissatisfied, but so what? The golden dragon was one of his people, so others could only be jealous. He had to help the golden dragon hold the fort, so he said meaningfully, Dragon King, shouldn't I congratulate you? Another genius has appeared in the Dragon Clan. If the Dragon Clan had more geniuses like this, then we wouldn't have to worry about the Dragon Clan not prospering. Master, how am I a genius? The golden dragon said embarrassedly. Tang Zheng looked at him encouragingly and said with certainty, You are a genius. This is an undeniable fact. Have you seen any other Dragon Clan member reach the 11th floor before you? No. Although the golden dragon didn't say it out loud, that was the answer. This was an indisputable fact. The Dragon King and the Dragon Envoy were defeated, but they couldn't refute. The Dragon King took a deep breath and suppressed the frustration in his heart. He looked at the Golden Dragon and said firmly, You are indeed a genius of the Dragon Clan. Don't worry and keep the holy whip. I hope you won't let it go to waste. The Golden Dragon nodded excitedly and said, Yes, I will remember the Dragon King's teachings. I will not let the holy whip go to waste. Tang Jing smiled dejectedly. In fact, he didn't expect the Golden Dragon to have such a talent. This was a pleasant surprise. It was better for Tang Zheng if the holy weapon fell into the hands of the Golden Dragon rather than the other Dragon Clan members. In fact, there was a deep reason why the Golden Dragon could be ahead of all the other Dragon Clan members. The Golden Dragon had been imprisoned under the Imperial City for hundreds of years. His body and mind had been tortured and trained. This training was not as simple as it seemed on the surface. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to persevere. However, the Golden Dragon persevered. Although his cultivation seemed to be lower than before, everything changed when he flew in the sky and regained his freedom. Quantitative changes led to qualitative changes. The subtle changes accumulated over hundreds of years led to earth-shaking changes. Therefore, when the Golden Dragon cultivated the advanced version of the Dragon God technique, this quality completely exploded. He broke through to the second level of the advanced version before all the other Dragon Clan members and reached the 11th floor of the Langya Pavilion. When he reached the 11th floor of the Langya Pavilion and saw the holy whip emitting divine power, the Golden Dragon almost couldn't believe his eyes. He had finally succeeded. Back then, when he was imprisoned in the Imperial City, he was like an abandoned child who had no one to rely on. He even thought of committing suicide, but he survived in the end. Once the wind and clouds changed, he really emitted a dazzling light. The other Dragon Clan members had nothing to say. They could only look at the Golden Dragon resentfully. Tang Zheng didn't want to continue this topic. He also didn't want the Golden Dragon to become the focus of controversy. He changed the topic and said, "Dragon King, is the Dragon Clan army ready? When are we leaving?" As expected, the Dragon King's attention was attracted. He sorted out his complicated feelings and looked at the few dragon envoys. The dragon envoys all became alert and said, "Dragon King, we are already in the final stage. We will set off tomorrow." "Good." Tang Zheng and the Dragon King praised in unison. The Dragon King said with relief, "It was very fast this time. Thank you for your hard work." The dragon envoys all said modestly, "This is what we should do." Tang Zheng said in a low voice, "Dragon King, although we have decided to attack the Dragon Slayer's nest, we still have to make some preparations to avoid unnecessary trouble." "What preparations?" "Leave some people behind to deal with the Dragon Slayer's invasion of the Langya Pavilion." "What? Langya Pavilion?" The Dragon Clan member was shocked. "Haven't the Dragon Slayers not found the Langya Pavilion yet? That's only a matter of time. What if the Langya Pavilion is attacked when we attack the enemy? What should we do?" This, Tang Zheng's question made the other Dragon Clan members fall silent. "We are attacking their nest. They still have the mood to invade the Langya Pavilion?" The Dragon King asked in disbelief. Tang Zheng smiled and winked at the Dragon King, saying, "That depends on what is in the middle of the Langya Pavilion and whether it can attract the Dragon Slayers. As long as the temptation is enough, I believe the Dragon Slayers will do anything." As soon as he said this, everyone's heart trembled, especially the Dragon King. How could he not know what was in the Langya Pavilion that attracted the Dragon Slayers? The dragon soul of the Dragon Clan's ancestors and the Dragon God fragment were the most attractive things to the Dragon Slayers. Once the Dragon Slayers got their hands on these two things, the Dragon Clan would never be able to rise again. Chapter 1750. The Dragon Clan was well aware of the importance of the Langya Pavilion. The importance of the Dragon God fragment and Dragon Soul to the Dragon Clan was self-evident, not to mention the Dragon Slayers. If the Dragon Slayer's nest was attacked, the Dragon Slayers might attack the Langya Pavilion in desperation. The Langya Pavilion was not like other places, it was not a place where the Dragon Clan could stay. Therefore, it was not easy to leave a part of the Dragon Clan to deal with the Langya Pavilion's crisis. The Dragon King had already acquiesced to Tang Zheng's suggestion, but he still asked, "How can the Dragon Clan accurately know that the Dragon Slayers have invaded the Langya Pavilion? Moreover, the Langya Pavilion is independent for every Dragon Clan. If they can't see other Dragon Clan members in the Langya Pavilion, they might not see the Dragon Slayers. If they can't even see the enemy, how can they fight back? As for your first question, I already have a solution." I have a special connection with the Langya Pavilion. Once the dragon slayers invade the Langya Pavilion, I can warn them. Tang Jing smiled and said confidently. The other point is not a problem. Dragon King, have you forgotten that we have already met in the Langya Pavilion? Of course not. The Dragon King nodded. After that, I was puzzled and didn't understand what was going on. Tang Zheng was not clear at first, but when he fused with the third dragon god fragment, he gradually had a hint of understanding in his heart. There was a special seal in the Dragon Seal world that prevented the Dragon Clan from seeing other Dragon Clan members in the Langya Pavilion. However, this was not absolute. As long as one cultivated the advanced version of the Dragon God technique, this seal would become very weak. Therefore, when one cultivated to the second level of the advanced version of the Dragon God technique, this seal would be completely ineffective. The Dragon King and Tang Jing saw each other. When Tang Jing spoke tirelessly and made these secrets public, all of the Dragon Clan were stunned. So there was such a bizarre thing in the Dragon Seal world. The Dragon King suddenly realized that this was the reason. However, the Dragon King was immediately puzzled and asked, not all the Dragon Clan members have reached the second level of the advanced version of the Dragon God technique. As far as I know, only the 3 of us have reached it. Are we left in the Langya Pavilion? Tang Jing smiled mysteriously and said, of course it doesn't have to be that complicated. Have you forgotten? Since this is a seal, there is naturally a way to break it. As long as you have enough power, it won't be difficult to find the way. It's as easy as lifting one's hand. The Dragon King's eyes lit up as he asked impatiently, do you know how to do that? Tang Jing smiled and nodded, indeed, I have a way to weaken the effect of this seal without completely removing it. Once you cultivate the advanced version of the Dragon God technique, the Dragon Clan will be able to see each other in the Dragon Seal world. Then, they can unite and defend against external enemies. Is that true? The Dragon King asked excitedly. He was well aware of the importance of this and what it meant. Of course. Tang Zheng was very confident. I can weaken the seal now. You will know the effect once you try. Seeing how confident Tang Zheng was, the Dragon King and the other dragon ambassadors looked at each other and nodded in agreement. Wait a moment, I'll go first. Tang Zheng said. Wait a moment. The Dragon King stopped him, didn't you just leave Langya Pavilion? Langya Pavilion has a time limit for the Dragon Clan. You can only enter once a month. That's right. The other Dragon Clan members nodded, including the Golden Dragon. This was a well-known fact among the Dragon Clan. Tang Jing knew what everyone was thinking and said, this time, after I merged with the Dragon God fragment, I didn't find anything out of the ordinary. But later on, I gradually found some clues. What clues? One of them is the seal I just mentioned. The other is that I can freely enter and exit Langya Pavilion without the time limit. Ah! Cries of surprise rang out. The Dragon King stared blankly at Tang Zheng in disbelief. That's right. You entered Langya Pavilion before me and stayed there longer. But because of the time limit, I was forced to leave Langya Pavilion first. There is only one logical explanation. You are not restricted by the time limit. The Dragon King's words woke the other Dragon Clan members up. All of them stared at him as if he was an alien. Langya Pavilion was the Dragon Clan's treasure ground. Every Dragon Clan member wanted to stay in Langya Pavilion for a while. But that was just wishful thinking. They didn't expect Tang Zheng to break through this restriction and be able to enter and leave Langya Pavilion at will. Moreover, he could freely control his time in Langya Pavilion. Envy, jealousy, and hatred. Pairs of dragon eyes were filled with such gazes. Even the Dragon King and the Golden Dragon were no exception. Is this the effect of the Dragon God fragment? The Dragon King hesitated for a moment and asked with a bitter face. Tang Zheng said bitterly, yes. He knew very well what the other Dragon Clan members were thinking. He had merged with the Dragon God fragment, which was completely beneficial to him. The other Dragon Clan members were naturally jealous, especially when they thought of the many magical effects of the Dragon God fragment. But this was reality. It couldn't be changed by anyone's will. The Dragon King looked deeply at Tang Zheng and took a deep breath. He suppressed his mixed feelings and said, "I understand. The Dragon God fragment hasn't seen the light of day for so many years. Now that you have merged with the Dragon God fragment, it can be considered a blessing. At least the Dragon God fragment is no longer a pearl covered in dust." Actually, the Dragon King didn't say it out loud. Tang Zheng had already merged with so many Dragon God fragments. Once he finished fusing with all the Dragon God fragments, he would become the Dragon God of the Dragon Clan. He would be high and mighty, and even he, the Dragon King, couldn't be compared to him. The Dragon King was the lord of the Dragon Clan and had a noble status. But when he thought of being under Tang Zheng in the future, this kind of change in role made him feel uncomfortable. The Dragon King didn't think too much about the big picture. He suppressed this thought and said, "Then you can begin. Weaken the seal." With a thought, Tang Zheng's consciousness entered the Dragon Seal world again. Standing in front of Langya Pavilion, he activated the advanced version of the Dragon God technique and a golden light shot out from his hand. After the golden light flew out, it turned into small golden dragons and flew in 8 directions, disappearing from the ground. Hua! Pillars of golden light rose from the ground like pillars, connecting the earth and the empty sky. Boom boom boom. The Dragon Seal world shook. All the Dragon Clan members felt the Dragon Seal world shaking and were shocked. Many of them wanted to enter the Dragon Seal world, but they found that they couldn't make any progress. The Dragon King immediately ordered a dragon envoy to pacify the Dragon Clan and not cause panic. Otherwise, it would be counterproductive. The Dragon Clan was shaken. All the Dragon Clan members looked at each other in dismay. They didn't know what was going on. Some Dragon Clan members even directly flew towards the Dragon Palace. Chapter 1751. The golden light pillar's radiance gradually dissipated, and the Dragon Seal world returned to tranquility. A mysterious change quietly occurred. When the golden light completely disappeared, the seal of the Dragon Seal world had weakened. We can enter the Dragon Seal world now. The dragons suddenly discovered that the strange resistance had disappeared, and everything returned to normal. Quickly enter the Dragon Seal world and see what happened. Thus, many dragons entered the Dragon Seal world one after another. When they stood in Langya, they discovered that there was no difference. Lang Yaju stood there quietly, unmoving. There's no change. The dragons muttered to themselves one after another. But they immediately discovered something strange, because there were many similar voices in their ears. This was something that had never happened before. In the past, there was only themselves in the Dragon Seal world, and no other voices. What's going on? They turned their heads to look. What did they see? The group of dragons were taken aback, and their eyeballs almost popped out. They saw numerous dragons standing in Langya, watching. They actually saw other dragons in the Dragon Seal world. This was something that had never happened before, something that subverted their understanding. How could they not be surprised? They sucked in a breath of cold air, dumbstruck, and didn't know how to answer. Could all of this be related to the Dragon Seal world's tremors? What caused all of this? Question marks appeared one after another. The dragons seemed to be on the verge of collapse. Their faces were unsightly, and they lost their heads out of fear. Quiet, don't worry. Suddenly, a gentle voice sounded, and a figure slowly rose into the sky. A dragon flew up. There was no way to fly in the Dragon Seal world, so how did this person do it? Dragon God Envoy. A sharp-eyed dragon immediately recognized this person, and shouted. Right, it's the Dragon God Envoy. The group of dragons boiled, and stopped to watch. Their eyes were fixed on Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng looked down at the dragons below him. Other dragons were unable to fly in the Dragon Seal world, but he was different. He had fused with the Dragon God fragment, and could freely fly in the Dragon Seal world. Furthermore, not only could his divine sense enter the dragon seal world, but his physical body could also enter. Now, he was the same as the other dragons, using divine sense. But his divine sense had a specific image in the dragon seal world, and was exactly the same as his physical body. Dragon God Envoy, what's going on? The dragon clan began to ask all at once. Calm down. I know that everyone has many questions in their hearts, but I will answer them one by one. First, let me announce something. From today onwards, you will be able to see each other in the dragon seal world. You will be able to see your own clansmen, companions, friends, and relatives. All of you will be able to cultivate together in the dragon seal world and climb to an even higher level of Langya. Tang Zheng said in a clear voice. His voice seemed to have magic, as it clearly entered the ears of every dragon, deeply imprinting itself into their hearts. Ah, so that's the case. No wonder we can see each other. But why is it like this? What happened? That's right. Is this good or bad for the dragon seal world and Langya? Quiet, quiet. Tang Zheng's voice was as loud as a bell, completely covering the chattering of the dragons. He said, "This is something I deliberately did. The dragon seal world has a seal that prevents us from meeting each other in the dragon seal world. This is to prevent us from interfering with each other. This is the dragon clan's ancestors' love for us. However, once we reach great success in the dragon god technique and cultivate the advanced version of the dragon god technique, we will be able to break through this restriction and meet each other in the dragon seal world." The dragons looked at each other in dismay. They were puzzled and asked, "Why are you doing this?" That's right. Since the ancestor laid down this seal, he definitely had his considerations. Tang Zheng replied, "Of course the ancestor had his considerations. That's because the ancestor was worried that when our cultivation wasn't high enough, we wouldn't be able to wholeheartedly cultivate in the dragon seal world. Therefore, he deliberately blocked each other. But now that we've started cultivating the advanced version of the dragon god technique, it means that our cultivation is strong enough and we don't need to fear each other's interference. It's precisely because of this reason that I weakened the power of the seal, so that everyone can help each other in the dragon seal world and verify each other. Perhaps this will increase the efficiency of cultivation." The dragons gradually came to a realization. The worries in their hearts were gradually dispelled. Many people were eager to give it a try. This kind of novel feeling was too wonderful. Originally, entering the dragon seal world alone without a single companion to talk to was truly lonely. So much so that it was occasionally a kind of torment. But now, it was completely different. It was refreshing. Looking at the excited dragons, Tang Zheng inwardly nodded. At least it didn't cause too much of a disturbance. Furthermore, everyone was happy to accept this change. In addition, after the seal is weakened, your time in the dragon seal world will not be limited. Tang Zheng threw out another bombshell. Even the Dragon King wasn't aware of this before. What? Each and every one of the dragons were stupefied. They never thought that there would be such an effect. You're saying that we can freely enter and exit the dragon seal world in the future? We can stay here as long as we want? Tang Zheng solemnly looked at them and heavily nodded, yes. From now on, the restriction will be removed. You can freely enter and exit the dragon seal world. You can stay here as long as you want. Wah! Immediately, the group of dragons boiled, turning into a sea of cheers. The dragons' cultivation speed in the dragon seal world was faster, and their comprehension of divine abilities was also faster. This was a well-known fact. Therefore, in the past, the dragons were all eager to stay in the dragon seal world for a while. But with the restriction, they had no way to break through it. Even staying a little longer was an extravagant hope. Now that the restriction no longer existed, their wild joy could be imagined. Thank you, Dragon God Envoy, for your great kindness. The dragons knelt down one after another, saluting Tang Zheng in the air. There was no need to guess. They knew that this was the Dragon God Envoy's contribution, just like the advanced version of the Dragon God arts. The dragon god envoy had brought too many benefits to the dragons. Immediately, his image in the hearts of the dragons became even greater. Tang Jing smiled and said in a clear voice, "This is the blessing left behind by the ancestors of the dragon clan. It's the dragon clan's fortune, the dragon clan's fortune. Because the rise of the dragon clan is imperative." The crowd was excited. The dragons shouted one after another, "Rise of the dragon clan! Rise of the dragon clan!" After this earth-shaking change, the strength of the dragon clan would greatly increase. The rise of the dragon clan wasn't an extravagant hope. Unknowingly, the Dragon King and the other dragon envoys had already entered the Dragon Seal world. The dragon envoys' emotions were also affected. Their emotions were fluctuating. There were even some dragon envoys who raised their arms and cheered. They had waited for this day for too long. Chapter 1752. The day of the Dragon Clan's expedition had finally arrived. The Dragon Clan's army was densely packed. Their banners fluttered as they stood on the waves. They stood on the boundless sea and stretched out like a giant dragon. The Dragon King was at the head of the giant dragon. He was wearing a battle robe and looked majestic. Beside him was Tang Jing. He was calm and composed, without any nervousness before the great battle. The other dragon envoys were excited beyond words. This was the day the Dragon Clan regained their glory. They had been waiting for this day for many years. To be able to witness this day would be the greatest fortune of their lives. Many people's gazes fell on one person. It wasn't the Dragon King, but the dragon god envoy Tang Jing beside him. His appearance made all of this a reality. If not for him, who knows how long this day would have been delayed. The Empyrean fairy stood beside Tang Jing, but she couldn't remain calm. Looking at the majestic Dragon Clan army, her blood seemed to be boiling. She felt that this trip was worth it. Since ancient times, the Dragon Clan, which had always been high and mighty, was completely presented in front of her. It could be said that this was a scene that many people had never seen before, even her father, the Celestial Emperor, had never seen before. Where's the golden dragon? He wasn't among the dragons. It turned out that he had led a team to hide in the Dragon Seal world. Now that the seal had weakened, the Dragon Seal world didn't have a time limit. Many dragons were eager to stay there. But sniping the dragon slayers in the Dragon Seal world wasn't a good job. If they weren't careful, their lives would be in danger. But the golden dragon volunteered and took the lead. He decided to bite this hard bone. After the Dragon King and the dragon envoys discussed, they agreed to the golden dragon's request and sent the Dragon Clan's elites to wait for the dragon slayers in the Dragon Seal world. "Let's go." The Dragon King waved the spear in his hand and pointed it to the sky. The wind and clouds in the sky surged and the world changed color. A huge whirlpool was spinning rapidly. The spatial fluctuations were intense. Boom! With a loud bang, a door opened in the center of the whirlpool. A spatial door. The Dragon Clan was well versed in the laws of space and was good at traveling between different spaces. This was an innate advantage that other clans couldn't compare to. After the Dragon Slayers devoured the dragon soul, they also gained this talent, which was why they could hunt down the dragon race in various worlds. At this moment, the dragon army will pass through space. The gate led directly to the Dragon Slayer's lair, the ancient dragon domain. Step by step, the Dragon King walked toward the spatial gate. He stepped into the air, and the other dragons quickly followed him. The mighty team stretched from the surface of the sea to midair. Tang Jing and the Empyrean fairy stepped into the air and approached the portal step by step. Looking at the spatial gate, the Empyrean fairy was shocked. She knew very well that to allow so many dragons to pass through the spatial gate, one must have a very deep understanding of the laws of space. She glanced at Tang Jing beside her and saw that his expression was as calm as water. Could it be that he could do it? Tang Jing had fused with 2 more dragon god fragments, and his comprehension of the laws of space had reached a new level. However, it was impossible for him to let so many dragons pass through the spatial gate at once. Similarly, neither the Dragon King nor any of the dragon envoys could do it. This shocking effect was achieved by combining the powers of the Dragon King and the dragon envoys. Everything turned dark, and Tang Zhang and the others had already stepped into the spatial gate. After a while, the scene before them lit up again. A new spatial gate slowly opened in front of them. Whoosh whoosh. The dragon race's breathing involuntarily quickened. Once they crossed this gate, danger and battle would welcome them. The Dragon King took the lead, and Tang Zhang and the Empyrean fairy followed closely behind. The dazzling light was blinding, and everyone looked up. The fiery red sun hung high in the sky, and the heat was unbearable. It was as if it was going to catch fire. The biting cold wind blew, and it was as if knives were scraping their cheeks painfully. Looking down, the boundless blue color struck their eyes, and it was as if there was a hint of coolness. Before everyone could take a closer look and reflect on the difference between this and the new dragon domain, a majestic ray of light shot from afar. "Be careful!" Tang Jing shouted. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Rays of sharp light also shot out from the dragon race. Boom! The explosion was earth-shattering, and it was as if the sky had been torn open. The air currents were abnormally violent. The dragon race was thrown off their feet and scattered in all directions. The spatial gate trembled violently, as if it was going to collapse at any time. "Be careful of the spatial gate." Tang Zheng leaped and rushed to the front of the spatial gate. He used the spatial laws to stabilize the spatial gate. The Dragon King also realized the seriousness of the problem and reminded loudly, "We have been discovered. Prepare for battle and protect the spatial gate." The dragon race the army was huge, and they could not pass through the spatial gate in a short time. Therefore, they had to buy time for the dragon race behind them. The few dragon envoys stood guard in front of the spatial gate and looked around cautiously. Boom! A water column soared into the sky, directly rushing to the 9 heavens. Even at such a height, the power of the water pillar was exceptionally terrifying. It carried with it a destructive aura, and it was aimed directly at the spatial gate. If the spatial gate was hit, it would definitely collapse. Who knew how many dragon race members would be sealed in the space-time turbulence, never to be found again? They would die without a doubt. The dragon race knew this very well. Thus, a series of dragon roars rang out, and the 8 dragon envoys transformed into true dragons. The huge true dragon body lay across the sky, almost occupying half of the sky. This formed an indestructible protective wall, and the water droplets hit the dragon body. The dragon scales intertwined together like a golden shield. Boom boom boom. The sound of impact was incessant, but the dragon scales only trembled slightly. It was not a big deal, and the spatial gate was successfully protected. However, it was not over yet. A black dot flew over from afar. It was extremely fast, like a meteorite. Everyone's eyes widened in shock. No, it was not a meteorite. It was a mountain. A mountain was flying toward them at an extremely fast speed. One could imagine how powerful it was. "I'll go." Tang Zheng took the lead and turned into a ray of light to meet the mountain. Whoosh! A ray of sword light flew out from his hand and floated in the air. The sword light grew bigger and bigger, reaching above the 9 heavens. The hidden mystic sword. This sword light was the hidden mystic sword. The sacred pattern of the Tao flowed on the hidden mystic sword, emitting a sharp aura. Tang Zheng stood in the air, staring at the mountain peak that was getting closer and closer. "Break!" Tang Zheng roared. The hidden mystic sword flew out and fell from the sky, directly piercing through the mountain. The huge mountain was like a piece of tofu, and the hidden mystic sword easily pierced through it. The momentum of the mountain stopped abruptly and lost its attacking power. It was cut in half and fell from the sky, splashing huge waves in the sea. Tang Zheng's pupils shrank. He saw a floating mountain in the distance, and there seemed to be a figure flashing. Dragon Slayer. Chapter 1753. The floating mountain peak, the vast sea, and on the mountain peak, the figures were all dragon slayers. Not only did Tang Jing see it, the Dragon King and the rest of the dragon clan also saw it. It was true that when enemies met, their eyes would turn red, as if they were about to burst into flames. The hatred from their lives burst out from the bottom of the dragon's heart like a volcanic eruption. Boom, boom, boom. A series of loud booms erupted from the bottom of the sea as pillars of water rose into the air. The pillars of water completely surrounded the dragon race and rushed toward the spatial gate from all directions. The dragon slayers had also discovered the dragon's intentions, so they had to stop the endless flow of dragons coming here. The only way was to destroy the spatial gate. We can't keep being so passive. You guys protect the spatial gate. I'll go meet the dragon slayers and make them stop attacking. Tang Jing volunteered. He waved the hidden mystic sword, and with a whoosh, he turned into a ray of light and rushed out. As for the water pillars in front, how could they stop him and the hidden mystic sword? With a flash of sword light, the water pillars shattered. Tang Jing rushed toward the dragon slayers in the distance with an unparalleled aura. Although the two sides were far apart, to Tang Jing, the horizon was just a short distance away. Close. He finally saw the dragon slayers clearly. They were also a group of people, but their auras were completely different. Some of them even emitted dragon's might. This was the effect after devouring the dragon's soul. The eyes of the dragon slayers locked onto Tang Jing, and they laughed sinisterly. Another dragon that's here to die. That's right, they actually dare to come here to die instead of hiding. Then we'll fulfill their wish. Who's going to meet him first and eat this appetizer before the big meal? Obviously, the dragon slayers were overbearing and didn't take Tang Jing seriously at all. I'll go. One of the dragon slayers stood out reluctantly, as if he didn't think highly of Tang Jing and felt that it was too embarrassing to take action. Ha ha ha, you're the only one among us. After all, you've only devoured one dragon's soul, so you're the weakest among us. This time, you'll be able to devour a second dragon's soul soon. The other dragon slayers laughed loudly. The dragon slayer's eyes were filled with hatred as he glared at the approaching Tang Jing. Quickly accept your death. He took the lead and rushed out to meet Tang Jing. Tang Jing remained unmoved. He took in the dragon slayer's various expressions. With a cold smile, he quickly slashed out with his sword. Whoosh! The hidden mystic sword flew out and tore through the sky. The dragon slayer on the other side hurriedly activated his magical weapon in an attempt to block it. Boom! The hidden profound sword struck the dragon slayer, and with a flash of sword light, the dragon slayer disappeared from this world before he could even react. However, the attack of the hidden sword of Xianzong did not stop, and it affected the nearby dragon slayers. The dragon slayer didn't seem to have expected this result. He shrieked in alarm while activating his magic weapon to resist. Boom! Boom! After a series of loud noises, the few dragon slayers disappeared into thin air. The few dragon slayers were wounded and retreated in a sorry state. This series of unforeseen events shocked the other dragon slayers. Pairs of eyes were wide open as they looked at Tang Jing in shock. Why was this dragon race so powerful? They had never met such a powerful dragon race before. They wanted to devour the other party's dragon soul, but their teeth were knocked out. Tang Jing stood in the air, glaring at them. The dragon slayer's messy team calmed down and stared at Tang Jing. One side had a lot of people, while the other side was weak, but their aura was not weak at all. You are the Dragon King? A dragon slayer asked. After seeing Tang Jing's strength, they mistook him for the Dragon King. Otherwise, how could a normal dragon race have such a strong force? I am not the Dragon King, but the Dragon God Envoy. Dragon God Envoy? The dragon slayers looked at each other. They had never heard of this title. They only knew that there were Dragon Kings and Dragon Envoys in the dragon race. When did the Dragon God Envoy appear? From the corner of his eyes, Tang Jing saw that the water column was still rising from the sea, trying to destroy the spatial door. Therefore, he did not continue to talk nonsense with the dragon slayers. He held the Xuanzang sword and shouted, "Dragon slayers, we will return all the humiliation you have brought to the dragon race in the past. Kill!" The earth-shattering battle cry was full of momentum. Tang Zheng's figure flashed, and he was already in front of the dragon slayers. The dragon slayers hurriedly dealt with it, but Tang Zheng's cultivation was much higher than the average dragon slayers. In almost the blink of an eye, a few more dragon slayers died under the Xuanzang sword. "Stop him!" The dragon slayers were shocked. They did not expect Tang Zheng to be so strong. Tang Zheng became braver as he fought, and the dragon slayers were defeated. Tang Zheng could not help but be surprised. These dragon slayers were not strong. Although he was a 9th grade Mahayana realm cultivator, the Dragon King was not weak either. Why had the dragon race been suppressed all these years and been in an absolute disadvantage? The dragon slayers seemed to be much weaker than he expected. Roar! Just as this thought flashed through his mind, a deafening roar was heard. A giant flew over from afar, holding a mountain in his hand. "Go!" With a shout, the mountain in his hand flew out, crashing straight at Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng's eyes flashed. Without a doubt, this dragon slayer's cultivation was higher than the other dragon slayers. Seeing the mountain flying over, the Xuanzang sword hurriedly slashed out at lightning speed. Clang! A deafening sound of metal and stone colliding was heard. It was as if thunder had fallen from the 9 heavens. A shockwave swept in all directions. The other dragon slayers were thrown off their feet. Only Tang Zheng and the giant were unmoved. As for the mountain, it was not destroyed and was still intact. This. Tang Zheng's heart trembled. He stared at the mountain in disbelief. In the next moment, he saw the clue. This was not just a mountain, but a treasure. Because, it was glowing with a faint cyan light, and a heavy feeling hit him in the face. This dragon slayer is not simple. Tang Zheng made a judgment, and his face became serious. The giant was about 10 meters tall. He stared at Tang Zheng condescendingly. His voice was so hoarse that it seemed to be squeezed out from a crack in the stone. "Dragon God Envoy? Humph, I will use the flying mountain to crush you into a meat patty." As soon as he finished speaking, he grabbed the flying mountain. The tall mountain was as light as a feather in his hand, and he ruthlessly smashed it at Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng raised his thick eyebrows and shouted, "Break!" Holding the Xuanzang sword, he stabbed forward, bringing with it an unparalleled sword chi that soared into the sky. Bang! The sword and the mountain clashed, and a dazzling light spread out, enveloping Tang Zheng and the giant in the light. This light became more and more dazzling, causing others to be unable to open their eyes. This light also had a huge power. Once touched, they would immediately be seriously injured and sent flying. Immediately, the dragon slayers were afraid that it was too late. They retreated in all directions, but every dragon slayer revealed an excited expression. "The Overlord has attacked, this dragon god envoy is dead for sure." "That's right, this dragon god envoy is so powerful, his dragon soul must be very delicious. Once swallowed, his cultivation will definitely skyrocket." The dragon slayers discussed spiritedly, as if they unanimously believed that Tang Zheng was dead for sure. Obviously, this overlord had an extremely powerful strength and prestige in the hearts of the dragon slayers. After a while, the light gradually dissipated. The overlord's tall figure appeared again. The dragon slayers cheered loudly. Author's digression: these few days I have stopped updating, but today I am starting to update again. My mood is extremely low. To read the latest novel, please visit the website. Chapter 1754. When the Overlord appeared, the Dragon Slayers cheered, thinking that Tang Zheng would definitely lose. Boom! Suddenly, the Overlord exploded, turning into a rain of blood that fell onto the sea. The flying peak was also split into two, and its divine power disappeared. It was like two pieces of scrap iron that fell into the sea, splashing up huge waves. The dragon slayers seemed to be strangled, and their cheers stopped abruptly. They looked at this scene dumbfoundedly. The light completely dissipated, and Tang Zheng's figure appeared again, standing still. The hidden mysterious sword floated beside him, emitting a dazzling light. His gaze swept across and fell on the other dragon slayers. Immediately, the dragon slayers retreated as if they were struck by lightning. Ha ha ha. Tang Zheng laughed wildly and shouted, "Who dares to fight again?" The more he fought, the more valiant he became, and no one dared to look at him directly. Dragon God Envoy. Dragon God Envoy. When the dragons saw this scene, they all raised their arms and cheered, their minds agitated. The dragons' morale rose greatly, and their originally nervous thoughts disappeared. Each of them was full of fighting spirit, and couldn't wait to fight with the dragon slayers in close combat. Tang Zheng successfully bought time for the dragons, and when the last dragon passed through the spatial door, it closed with a bang. The dragon army stretched out, almost occupying half of the sky. The dragon slayers looked at the dragons with blazing eyes, but they didn't act rashly. In the past, they saw the dragons as prey, but now, facing the dragon army, they didn't dare to underestimate them. The dragons hadn't shown off their muscles in front of the dragon slayers for many years, and this caused the dragon slayers to have the inherent idea that the dragons were weak and could be hunted by them. But at this moment, looking at the dragon army, which dragon slayers dared to say that they could do whatever they wanted? The Dragon King led the dragon army and flew over, standing together with Tang Zheng, facing the dragon slayers. The Dragon King had mixed feelings. After so many years, this day had finally come. If it wasn't for Tang Zheng, this day would have been delayed for many years. He took a deep look at Tang Zheng, unable to conceal the gratitude and excitement in his eyes. The Dragon King's eyes turned cold as he swept an overbearing glance at the dragon slayers. His voice was as loud as a bell as he said, "Dragon slayers, you have hunted the dragon clan for so many years. Today, we will fight you to the death to end this matter. Today, I will make all of you pay back the debt you owe the dragon clan. Give it back. Give it back." The dragon clan let out an earth-shattering roar that reverberated throughout heaven and earth. Even the surface of the sea exploded with pillars of water. "Lowly dragon clan, what qualifications do you have to speak such big words? You even dared to come here and throw away your lives? Today, I'll make sure that you won't be able to return. I'll make sure that your clan completely disappears from this world." A dragon slayer retorted fearlessly. His voice was like a clap of thunder. The Dragon King immediately locked onto this person. He grabbed with his hand and a dragon claw appeared. A golden energy immediately enveloped this person. "Ah!" The dragon slayer screamed and struggled with all his might. However, with a boom, this dragon slayer exploded into pieces. Dragon King! Dragon King! The dragon clan raised their arms and shouted. It was as if they had been injected with chicken blood. The crowd was agitated. The dragon slayer's aura was obviously much weaker. Tang Zheng frowned. Where was the true strength of the dragon slayer? Although many of the dragon slayers on the opposite side were in the Mahayana realm, there were no top experts like the 9th stage of the Mahayana realm. In comparison, the dragon slayers were naturally at a disadvantage and were slightly inferior. There must be something fishy. Tang Zheng concluded. The Dragon King was not stupid. He immediately frowned. When he did not see the figure he wanted to see in the crowd, he shouted, "Where's your leader? Where's that traitor of the dragon clan? Who was the leader of the dragon slayers?" This was self-evident. The leader was the traitor of the dragon clan. He was the brother of the dragon god back then. He was the one who established the dragon slayers and expelled the dragon clan from their homeland. Now, every clansman who knew the history of the dragon clan hated this traitor to the core. You can't meet the leader just because you want to. The dragon slayer retorted hesitantly. If the traitor doesn't come out, aren't you afraid that I'll kill all of your subordinates? The Dragon King asked. Kill us? That depends on whether or not you have the strength to do so. Your dragon clan is born to be hunted and killed. You still want to resist? Keep dreaming. The dragon slayer said generously. The dragon king was too lazy to talk nonsense with the other party. He waved his hand and ordered, "Dragon clan, kill! Kill!" The shouts were deafening and spread all over the wilderness. An overwhelming dragon aura condensed and surged. One by one, the dragons flew towards the dragon slayers. This dragon aura was like a tornado that rose from the ground and swept towards the dragon slayers. Kill! The dragon slayers were not to be outdone. They took out their magic treasures and faced the dragon clan army. Boom! A loud sound rang out between heaven and earth. The dragon clan and the dragon slayers clashed. All kinds of magic treasures flew in the sky. Their auras surged and shook people's hearts. One of the dragon slayers rushed towards the dragon king. The dragon king reached out and grabbed with his dragon claw. The other party suddenly froze. His expression became miserable and he died on the spot. The dragon slayers had seen how powerful Tang Zheng was. Unexpectedly, none of them dared to rush towards Tang Zheng directly. Therefore, although Tang Zheng was powerful, he was facing a situation where he had no opponents. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he watched a dragon slayer rush towards the Empyrean fairy. He seemed to think that the Empyrean fairy was easier to bully. Hua! The Wuji umbrella flew out from her hand. The umbrella opened up and rays of light flew out, immediately entangling the dragon slayer. The dragon slayer struggled with all his might. However, the Wuji umbrella was a sacred weapon and it was in the hands of the Empyrean fairy. The dragon slayer couldn't break free at all. Boom! The rays of light pierced through the dragon slayer's chest and he died on the spot. In this battle, the dragon clan won a good start. Their morale was greatly boosted and they became braver as they fought. The dragon king didn't seem to want to lose to Tang Zheng. Everyone had seen his heroic actions just now. Therefore, the dragon king also used all his skills. His combat strength was off the charts. One by one, the dragon slayers died in his hands. The dragon slayers were very tenacious. Although many of them died, they didn't retreat a single step. Similarly, the dragon clan also suffered many casualties. However, they didn't retreat either. On the sea, many corpses of the dragon clan and the dragon slayers were floating. The dragon clan's bodies were huge. They were like small paths floating on the sea and were especially eye-catching. Unknowingly, the sea turned from blue to light red. Finally, it turned blood red. This battle was too intense and cruel. The smell of blood wafted and filled the air. However, both sides still didn't stop. Both sides were mortal enemies. It was either you die or I die. They wouldn't stop until the last person was killed. Seeing this tragic scene, Tang Zheng had mixed feelings. There were thousands of thoughts in his mind, but he couldn't say a single word. Although the dragon slayers weren't as powerful as he imagined, he couldn't care so much now. It wouldn't be too late to kill these dragon slayers first. The dragon clan's humiliation must be washed away with blood. Kill! Tang Zheng also roared. With the hidden mystic sword in his hand, he joined in the fierce battle. To read the latest novel, please visit the website. Chapter 1755. This unprecedented battle was still going on, fresh blood and treasures flew everywhere. It was extremely dangerous. The dragon slayer finally couldn't resist and retreated in defeat. The morale of the dragon clan was greatly boosted, their attacks became more ferocious. Everywhere they passed, the dragon slayer fell to the ground one after another. However, Tang Zheng's heart gradually sank, especially when he saw that the dragon clan's advantage was increasing. His heart seemed to have sunk into a bottomless abyss. Something's wrong. The dragon king also flew to his side and shouted in unison, "Something's wrong." The dragon king understood the dragon slayer better. He wasn't blinded by the temporary victory. It was impossible for the dragon slayer to only have this little strength. Other than that overlord from before, there were no other top-notch dragon slayers. This was simply impossible. How could the dragon slayer only have this little strength? If that was the case, why would the dragon clan be suppressed and chased for so many years? Tang Zheng and the Dragon King looked at each other and saw the deep anxiety in each other's eyes. Dragon King, we have to figure out what's going on. Tang Zheng took the lead and said. The Dragon King nodded and said, I'll go catch one alive. As soon as he finished speaking, the Dragon King waved his hand. A golden dragon claw fell from the sky. A dragon slayer was unlucky, he was firmly caught in the palm of the hand. Let go of me. The dragon slayer kept struggling, but everything was in vain. Let me ask you, where's your leader? The Dragon King widened his eyes and asked majestically. You want to pry open my mouth, dream on. The dragon slayer said in disdain. You're not going to talk, right? I have a way to make you talk. The Dragon King shouted and retracted his dragon claw. Ah, the dragon slayer screamed at the top of his lungs, but he still didn't open his mouth. The Dragon King frowned, but there was nothing he could do. The dragon slayer was about to be crushed to death by the dragon claw. Let me do it. Tang Zheng stretched out his hand and clasped 5 fingers on the dragon slayer's head. The Dragon King looked at him suspiciously. Even he couldn't do anything. What brilliant plan could he have? Tang Zheng used the soul-searching technique. The dragon slayer immediately stopped screaming and turned into a piece of wood. After Tang Zheng released his hand, the Dragon King hurriedly asked, what's wrong with him? How are we going to ask now? There's no need to ask. Tang Zheng's expression was solemn as he said in a deep voice, we didn't guess wrong. The dragon slayers already had a plan. The Dragon King didn't care how Tang Zheng got the news. He quickly asked, what's the plan? These dragon slayers are just a smokescreen. The real army of dragon slayers is not here. They have other plans. What do you want? The Dragon King was shocked. Lang, yeah, go. Tang Zheng said word by word. What? The Dragon King exclaimed in shock. Are they going for the Langya Pavilion? That's right. They've already deciphered the secret of the Dragon Seal world, and are going all out to prepare for the invasion of the Langya Pavilion. Tang Zheng was also shocked by this news. He secretly exclaimed that the Dragon Slayer was cunning. Not only are there dragon god fragments in Langya Pavilion, but there are also countless dragon souls. These are the targets of the Dragon Slayers. Once they succeed, we won't be able to stop the Dragon Slayers. The Dragon King flew into a rage and said, then what are we waiting for? Let's go find that traitor now and stop their actions. Follow me. Tang Zheng roared and dived towards the surface of the sea. The surface of the sea was already dyed red with blood, turning into a sea of blood. Whoosh! He was like a meteorite as he rushed towards the surface of the sea. When he was about to reach the surface of the sea, he waved his hand and an invisible force split the sea into 2. A bottomless chasm appeared in front of them. The sea water gathered from all directions, forming a tall waterfall. The sea water fell down with a splash, raising a mist that filled the sky. However, the mist had turned blood red, emitting a thick smell of blood. The Dragon King followed behind Tang Zheng and dived down together. Seeing this, the Empyrean fairy was not willing to fall behind. She swept the limitless umbrella and the light blasted a dragon slayer back. Whoosh! Her figure flashed as she chased after them. The 3 of them rushed into the bottomless chasm. Seeing this, the dragon slayers immediately saw through their intentions and shouted, stop them. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. One by one, the Dharma treasures flew towards them. However, Tang Zheng waved his hand, and a black hole appeared out of thin air. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. After a few gusts of wind, all the Dharma treasures were absorbed by the black hole. The dragon slayers did not give up. They also chased after them and attacked them without caring about their own safety. They knew that their cultivation was not as good as Tang Zheng's, but they still pressed forward. You're courting death. The Dragon King frowned coldly. The huge dragon god appeared, and the dragon's aura swept across. Bang bang bang. A few dragon slayers were hit in the waist and were cut in half, falling into the sea. Tang Zheng did not pay attention to the pursuers as he was completely focused on the front. The bottom of the sea was unfathomably deep and dark. A ball of fire rose into the sky, illuminating the path ahead. Even though the air was filled with a thick and humid aura, it did not extinguish the fire. They did not know how deep they had dived. When they looked back, the sea had closed again, and they could not see the sky outside at all. Suddenly, a bright light came from below. They were shocked. Their eyes narrowed slightly as they stared ahead. Was this the end? The Dragon King looked around and came to a realization. This is the former Dragon Palace. The ancient home of the Dragon Clan had long been occupied by the Dragon Slayers. Even the underwater Dragon Palace was no exception. With a splash, the last bit of seawater split in half, and the Dragon Palace finally appeared in front of them. This Dragon Palace occupied a larger area than the new Dragon Palace in the Dragon Domain. It was more majestic, and one could not see the end of it. The three of them were about to enter the Dragon Palace when an invisible force spread out. Boom! The three of them were sent flying by this force. A light screen surrounded and protected the Dragon Palace, not allowing outsiders to step in. This is the Dragon Palace of the Dragon Clan. How can you not let me in? Watch how I break your restriction. The Dragon King roared. He swung his dragon tail and hit the light screen hard. Crack. A crack appeared and spread rapidly. Bang bang bang. The dragon tail swept a few more times. Finally, the light screen could not hold on any longer. With a clang, it shattered. Humph, you still want to stop me? The Dragon King said proudly. He took the lead and rushed into the Dragon Palace. Tang Zheng and the Empyrean Fairy followed closely behind. They looked around. The Dragon Palace was quiet. Other than them, there was no other sound. Where is the traitor hiding? The Dragon King asked Tang Zheng. This way. Tang Zheng led the way as if he was more familiar with the place than the Dragon King. The Dragon King and the Empyrean Fairy followed behind and ran into the depths of the Dragon Palace. Everywhere they passed by, there was nothing. They did not even see the shadow of a dragon slayer. However, the more it was so, the more uncertain the two of them were. They knew that the situation would be worse. Boom! Suddenly, a loud sound came from the front. The three of them stopped and looked up. The central area of the Dragon Palace had collapsed and turned into ruins. The buildings had disappeared, leaving only a dark hole. To read the latest novel, please visit the website. Chapter 1756. The Dragon Palace had collapsed and was in ruins. It was a scene of devastation. That black hole was like a huge mouth that could devour people, as if it could suck them in. The three of them were shocked. Shortly after, the Dragon King flew into a rage. This was the former home of the Dragon Clan, but now it was destroyed. As the Dragon King, how could he not be angry? Traitor, Dragon Slayer, come out! He roared towards the sky, and the dragon seal resounded throughout the Dragon Palace. However, what answered him was silence. Tang Zheng soared into the sky, his eyes flashing. The mysterious concealed sword danced in his hand as he roared, "Go!" Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Rays of sword light shot out in all directions, covering the huge Dragon Palace. Every time it reached a certain place, the sword light was invincible and nothing could stop it. Boom boom boom. A series of loud sounds rang out as many Dragon Palace buildings were destroyed by the mysterious concealed sword. The Dragon King opened his eyes wide in anger, staring at Tang Zheng like a tiger eyeing its prey, and roared, "What are you doing?" Tang Zheng landed on the ground with an indifferent expression and said, "I'm verifying my guess." "What guess?" The Dragon King asked suspiciously. The Dragon Slayer is no longer in the Dragon Palace. What? The Dragon King turned pale with fright. They did not encounter many Dragon Slayers, which meant that there were many Dragon Slayers hidden in the Dragon Palace. But now that these Dragon Slayers were not in the Dragon Palace, where could they be? The answer was self-evident. The Dragon King's face turned gloomy and solemn. His breathing quickened as he stared at Tang Zheng and asked in disbelief, "You mean?" Before he could finish, Tang Zheng's face also turned solemn. As if they had a tacit understanding, he nodded heavily and spat out 3 words in unison with the Dragon King, "Langya Pavilion." Hiss. When he said this, the 3 of them sucked in a breath of cold air. The result they did not want to see the most had happened. They took the initiative to attack in order to prevent the Dragon Slayers from finding a way to enter the Dragon Seal world. From the looks of it, they were still one step too late. They had already found a way, and at the most crucial moment, they had sent out a small portion of the Dragon Slayers to stop them, while the majority of the Dragon Slayers secretly went to the Dragon Seal world and went straight to the Langya Pavilion. The purpose of the Dragon Slayers could not be any clearer. They coveted the Dragon Soul and Dragon God fragments in the Langya Pavilion. "Let's go to Langya Pavilion," Tang Zheng and the Dragon King said in unison. They had already realized the seriousness of the matter. It was now a matter of life and death. They had still underestimated the Dragon Slayers. Their determination to stake everything on a single throw was terrifying. They abandoned a small portion of the Dragon Slayers, and even abandoned the ancient Dragon Domain, and marched into the Dragon Seal world. The Dragon Slayer had a great plan. Although the Golden Dragon led a group of elites to guard the Langya Pavilion, they paled in comparison to the large number of powerful Dragon Slayers. They had to rush to the rescue. "Wait!" Suddenly, the Empyrean fairy shouted and stopped them. At this juncture, "What are you waiting for?" the Dragon King said indignantly. Tang Zheng looked at the Empyrean fairy suspiciously, waiting for her to continue. As expected, the Empyrean fairy pointed at the surrounding ruins and said, "As far as I know, the Dragon Clan went to the Langya Pavilion with their divine sense and not their physical body. Then look at this Dragon Palace, where have you seen the Dragon Slayers?" When these words came out, it was as if they were enlightened. Tang Zheng and the Dragon King looked at each other and saw the astonishment in each other's eyes. The 2 of them hurriedly looked around, but there was not even a shadow of the Dragon Slayers. This meant that their physical body had entered the Dragon Seal world. Even the Dragon King was unable to do this, but the Dragon Slayers were able to do it. His expression was aghast as he said, "How did they do it?" "The leader of the Dragon Slayers is a traitor of the Dragon Clan, and his cultivation is extremely high. They must have thought of a way to let their physical body enter the Dragon Seal world," Tang Zheng said in a deep voice. The Empyrean fairy revealed a suspicious expression as she stared at the black hole in front of her. Suddenly, a thought flashed through her mind and she said, "Their physical body can enter the Dragon Seal world. Could it be related to this black hole?" Tang Zheng and the Dragon King's eyes lit up, as if they had discovered a new continent. Their gazes immediately locked onto the black hole. That's right. If the Dragon Slayers could enter the Dragon Seal world without anyone noticing, they definitely wouldn't cause such a huge commotion. This meant that they had no choice but to do so. Perhaps it really was related to this black hole. "Come, let's go in." Tang Zheng took the lead and flew into the black hole, followed by the Dragon King and the Empyrean fairy. The 3 figures were immediately swallowed by the black hole and disappeared without a trace. Dragon Seal world. The Golden Dragon led many elites of the Dragon Clan to hide here, quietly waiting for the Dragon Slayers to invade. However, the majority of the Dragon Clan didn't believe that the Dragon Slayers could reach the Dragon Seal world. After all, the Dragon Seal world had been peaceful for so many years, without being touched by the Dragon Slayers. It was impossible for the Dragon Slayers to suddenly come. Moreover, the Dragon Seal world was the most mysterious existence of the Dragon Clan. They didn't believe that outsiders could reach the Dragon Seal world. However, this was the order of the Dragon King and the Dragon God envoy. They had to carry it out unconditionally. Boom! Just as many people were daydreaming, a loud sound broke the peace of the dragon's seal world. This sound came from the sky. The dragon clan's spirits shook as they raised their heads to look at the sky. The sky of the dragon seal world was overcast, making it impossible to see the situation clearly. However, the dragon clan deeply felt a majestic aura appearing in the sky. One by one, the dragon clan looked at the golden dragon. He held a sacred artifact in his hand and was the leader of this team. The golden dragon's expression was grave and stern as he stared at the sky. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and said, "It's the enemy, the dragon slayers." The dragon clan sucked in a breath of cold air, but none of them retreated. This was because they were guarding against the invasion of the dragon slayers. Now, it seemed that their precautions were correct. Counterattack. The golden dragon made a prompt decision and gave the order. Immediately, the dragon clan took out their treasures and aimed them at the sky. That majestic aura descended from the sky. Finally, they saw a figure descending one after another. Dragon slayers. The dragon clan shouted, "Stop them!" Whoosh whoosh whoosh. All kinds of treasures flew into the sky. The few dragon slayers who bore the brunt of the attack were caught off guard and were struck by the treasures, dying on the spot. The might of the golden dragon's god-striking whip was especially prominent. When the whip swept across two dragon slayers, their souls scattered on the spot and they fell down like kites with their strings cut. Roar, roar, roar. Angry roars came down from the sky, resounding throughout the world. The dragon slayers didn't expect that there would be an ambush here. They actually lost a few of their companions the moment they appeared. This was too much of a blow to their morale. Thus, they flew into a rage and dived towards the ground. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Treasures flew out from the hands of the dragon slayers and attacked the dragon clan on the ground. A great battle was about to break out. To read the latest novel without error, please visit Chapter 1757. A great battle broke out, and dragon slayers that blotted out the sky and covered the earth appeared. In comparison, the dragon clan seemed to be weak. However, the golden dragon and the other dragons did not retreat. They all used their magic weapons to stop the dragon slayers. Boom boom boom. The dragon's seal world seemed to tremble. The mountains and the earth shook. Only the Langya pavilion remained motionless, as if it had taken root. Although the dragon clan's counterattack was strong, the dragon slayers had more people and were even more ferocious. In an instant, the dragon slayers landed on the ground, not far from the Langya pavilion. A group of dragon slayers surrounded a dragon slayers. Without a doubt, this person was the leader of the dragon slayers. He had a head of silver hair and his face did not look old. He looked like a young man. However, his aura was like a rainbow, as heavy as a mountain, giving people the feeling of Mount Tai pressing down on them. With just a glance, it was as if 1,000 kilograms of weight was placed on them. He wore a silver robe that complemented his long silver hair, as if they were one. He looked around and said in a desolate tone, "I'm finally back. I don't even remember how many years it has been." As soon as he finished speaking, his gaze focused on the dragon's body, especially the deity-beating whip in the golden dragon's hand. He seemed to have fallen into a deep memory and said, "The deity-beating whip, I still remember its divine power back then." The golden dragon's expression turned cold as he said nervously, "You're the traitor of the dragon clan, the leader of the dragon slayers? How dare you?" The dragon slayers berated loudly. The dragon slayers smiled and said, "Traitor? He is taking back what belongs to me a traitor?" He shook his head and continued, "The dragon clan will be completely destroyed from today onwards." The dragon clan's expressions changed drastically. The golden dragon was the first to explode and roared, "Arrogant." Whoosh! The golden dragon waved the deity-beating whip, and with a flash of light, it fiercely whipped towards the leader of the dragon slayers. "How dare you!" A few dragon slayers flew up and protected in front of the leader. The light of their magic weapons flashed as they tried to stop the deity-beating whip. Bang bang bang. The deity-beating whip was a sacred weapon and had extraordinary power. When ordinary magic weapons touched the deity-beating whip, they would explode. The deity-beating whip went straight in and flew directly in front of the leader. The golden dragon's expression. Could it be that the deity-beating whip could hit the leader of the dragon slayers? Wouldn't that make his soul scatter? However, in the next second, the golden dragon's face froze like a stone slab. The leader slowly stretched out his hand and calmly grabbed the holy whip. The light of the holy whip suddenly disappeared as if its divine power was gone. God striking whip, long time no see. The leader let out a long sigh. The light of the god-beating whip suddenly increased. With a whoosh, it flew back and hit the golden dragon. The magic treasure turned against its owner. The others were shocked, and their expressions changed. The dragon clan made a big fuss, and the dragon slayers cheered. The golden dragon was the first to bear the brunt of the attack. Seeing that the god-striking whip was getting closer and closer, he kept urging his power. The connection between him and the god-striking whip became very weak. There was a powerful force blocking the connection between him and the god-striking whip. The golden dragon knew very well that he only had one way to go. The holy whip had already locked onto him, and he had no way to escape. If he could not re-establish this connection and awaken the holy whip, he would lose his life in the hands of his own treasure. He used all of his strength, staking everything on this one throw. He roared loudly, a dragon's roar resounding through heaven and earth. Meanwhile, his entire body erupted with golden light, turning into a true dragon. He stretched his dragon claws forward and grabbed the holy whip. The leader of the dragon slayers smiled disdainfully. The other dragon clan members held their breaths. The cheers of the dragon slayers were overwhelming. In the next second, the golden dragon seemed to be about to be destroyed by the holy whip. Boom! The golden dragon grabbed the holy whip. The air exploded, and waves of air rushed in all directions. The golden dragon flew backward, leaving a deep and long mark on the ground. Finally, the golden dragon stopped in front of Langia Pavilion. If he took another step back, he would rush into Langia Pavilion. The light of the holy whip gradually dimmed, and his dragon claws finally grasped the holy whip completely. His eyes shone with golden light as he roared, "Holy whip!" Whoosh! The holy whip turned into a long dragon and swept towards the nearby dragon slayers. Bang, bang, bang. The dragon slayers were scared out of their wits and died on the spot. The leader's expression froze. He sighed. Amazing. The golden dragon actually broke through his shield at the last moment and once again established contact with the holy whip. He regained control of the holy whip. The other dragon slayers were dumbfounded and in disbelief. The dragon clan members cheered and looked at the golden dragon with admiration. When the golden dragon obtained the holy whip, many dragon clan members criticized him in their hearts. They thought that he was just lucky and might not be worthy of the holy whip. But at this moment, the golden dragon used practical actions to win the recognition and admiration of his clansmen. Hearing the cheers of his clansmen, the golden dragon's heart also surged with pride. He looked at the holy whip in his hand and his heart moved. It was as if he had become one with the holy whip. Suddenly, he and the holy whip exploded with light, dazzling and eye-catching. Roar! With a dragon roar, the golden dragon disappeared, and the holy whip flew up, wrapped in a dazzling golden light. The golden dragon and the holy whip had become one. He was the holy whip, and the holy whip was him. This was a kind of realm, a realm that the golden dragon had never reached before. At this moment, he and the holy whip had a tacit understanding that others could not defeat. The leader could no longer block the connection between the golden dragon and the holy whip. Whoosh! The holy whip flew toward the leader. The dragon slayers realized the power of this attack and flew into the sky without caring about their own safety. They faced the holy whip and tried to stop all of this. Boom boom boom. The moment the dragon slayers touched the holy whip, their bodies and souls were destroyed. Even their bodies disappeared into thin air, turning into air. The holy whip flew toward the leader with an indomitable will. The leader's face became gloomy like never before. He quickly stretched out his hand and turned it into a dragon claw, but it was not golden, but silver. The silver dragon claw was placed in front of the leader, and the airflow in all directions was completely controlled by the dragon claw. Boom! The holy whip hit the dragon claw, and a ball of golden light and a ball of silver light instantly exploded, colliding with each other. Immediately, two balls of light soared into the sky, turning the dragon seal world into two colors, one gold and one silver. The dazzling light caused the other dragon slayers and dragon clan members to close their eyes. The rumbling sound caused everyone's eardrums to vibrate as if they were about to be pierced. After a long time, the rumbling sound disappeared. Everyone carefully opened their eyes and saw a mess. There was a huge hole in the ground, and there were many smaller holes around it. It could be said that it was full of holes. The leader stood in the air, looking as awe-inspiring as before. The golden dragon was lying on the ground, and he had already returned to his human form. His whole body was trembling, and there was blood at the corner of his mouth. The holy whip fell beside him, dim and without light. The only thing that was undamaged was the Langya pavilion, which was still standing firmly, bearing witness to everything. The golden dragon was defeated. The dragon clan members were shocked, but this was an inevitable result. An ant trying to shake a big tree would definitely lose. Chapter 1759. Langya. The dragon souls on the tombstones attracted the attention of the dragon slayers. Their eyes lit up as they stared at the dragon souls. The leader of the dragon slayers glanced at his subordinates and waved his hand, saying indifferently, "Go, this is the dragon soul you've been dreaming of. Charge." Hearing the leader's order, the dragon slayers seemed to have gone crazy as they swarmed into Langya and rushed towards the dragon souls. The leader didn't look at the dragon souls as if they were insignificant in his eyes. He walked towards the first floor of Langya. When he entered the second floor, he saw the tombstones and dragon souls. Of course, he knew that the dragon souls here were stronger. But he didn't linger and continued to move forward. His target wasn't the dragon souls but the dragon god fragments. The dragon slayers were deeply stimulated by the dragon souls and started to fight with each other. Everyone wanted to devour more dragon souls. In a moment, the scene was chaotic and Langya was in a mess. In the end, the dragon slayers started to fight among themselves. Some smart ones directly walked to the next floor and didn't participate in the fight. The second floor was quickly occupied by the dragon slayers. In a moment, the second floor turned into ruins. Not only the tombstones, even the dragon souls were completely devoured. Boom! Suddenly, a loud sound came from the first floor, followed by the sound of intense fighting. The dragon slayers' attention was immediately attracted and some of them directly rushed to the first floor. Bang bang bang! One by one, the dragon slayers flew up from the stairs and fell to the ground, losing their lives on the spot. The dragon clan is here. The dragon slayers roared but didn't rush to meet the enemy. Instead, a group of people rushed to the third floor. The dragon slayers tasted the sweetness and understood that the dragon souls on the next floor would be stronger. Once they devoured those dragon souls, they would become even stronger. Tang Zheng went up to the second floor and happened to see this scene. He was shocked. The dragon slayers were really smart. Once they tasted the sweetness, they went completely crazy. How could he let the dragon slayers succeed? Previously, Tang Zheng, Dragon King and Empyrean Fairy came to the dragon seal world from the black hole. At that time, the three of them were shocked. One must know that they had reached Langya with their physical bodies. In addition, Empyrean Fairy wasn't a dragon clan but she still broke through the restriction. The three of them immediately realized that the army of dragon slayers had successfully reached the dragon seal world. They knew very well what this meant. They rushed towards Langya who was standing upside down in an attempt to stop the dragon slayer. However, they were still one step too late. Looking at the mess on the first floor of Langia, the Dragon King's eyes turned red. Tang Zheng's face was also ashen. He had once promised the ancestors of the dragon clan that he would protect these dragon souls. Unexpectedly, he still failed. Many of the dragon souls had already been buried in the bodies of the dragon slayers. He didn't have time to regret it. He took the lead and rushed to the second floor. The dragon slayers once the dragon slayers. The Dragon King and the Fairy of the Ninth Heaven stayed behind to bring up the rear, especially the Dragon King. His eyes were red and his heart was completely filled with anger. Kill! Dragon King roared and revealed his true dragon form. He waved his claws and swept his tail. A large number of dragon slayers died. However, there were too many dragon slayers. Dragon King alone wasn't enough to eliminate them. Empyrean Fairy activated the Wuji umbrella. Rays of light shot out from the umbrella and attacked the dragon slayers. Compared to the Dragon King and Tang Zheng, the Ninth Heaven mysterious maiden was slightly weaker. After she defeated a few dragon slayer, she immediately fell into the encirclement of the dragon slayer and was unable to escape. Dragon King looked at the stairs to the second floor. It seemed close, but he couldn't get close. Previously, Tang Zheng caught them off guard. That was why he had the chance to escape from the army of dragon slayers and rush to the second floor. Now, all the dragon slayers reacted. Not only were they not afraid, they were full of fighting spirit. They stared at Dragon King with shining eyes. In the past, it was difficult for them to find a dragon clan member, let alone a Dragon King. Now, Dragon King was in front of them. If they could devour Dragon King's dragon soul, how powerful would they be? As long as they thought about it, they couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement. Greed suppressed the fear in their hearts. Moreover, they had the advantage in numbers while Dragon King only had 2 people. They might have a chance of winning against Dragon King. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Therefore, many dragon slayers didn't rush to the second floor. Instead, they surrounded Dragon King. Dragon King was trapped in a sea of people. He and Empyrean Fairy didn't know about Tang Zheng's situation. They also didn't know if he stopped the other dragon slayers. Tang Zheng was in a better situation than Dragon King. After all, there were only a few dragon slayers who rushed to the second floor. However, these dragon slayers were elites and had strong combat power. Therefore, Tang Zheng was facing a strong attack. He could only fight back. Looking at the stairs leading to the third floor, he just couldn't get close to it. The hidden mysterious sword's light almost occupied half of the floor. However, the dragon slayers didn't show any weakness. They attacked with treasures. Among them, there were even divine weapons. Although they weren't as powerful as the hidden mysterious sword, the power of all of them together couldn't be underestimated. Tang Zheng was burning with anxiety. How could he be willing to be held back like this? He glared at the dragon slayers who were close to him. He waved his hand and shouted, "Sky-swallowing technique." Swoosh! A black hole appeared in his palm and expanded rapidly. In an instant, it enveloped the 2 dragon slayers in front of him. The dragon slayers felt the power of devouring and struggled with all their might. However, the power of the sky-swallowing technique was too strong. Before the dragon slayers could scream, they were sucked into the black hole. When the other dragon slayers saw this, they were shocked. They didn't expect their opponent to have such a remarkable ability. They kept retreating, trying to avoid the suction of the black hole. The path in front of Tang Zheng was clear. He rushed to the third floor in a flash. Without the support of its owner, the black hole sucked in 2 more dragon slayers and disappeared. However, the other dragon slayers still had lingering fear. This remarkable ability made them feel a strong threat. Their resistance seemed to be futile. Chase! Seeing Tang Zheng's figure disappear at the stairs, the dragon slayers seemed to have woken up from a dream. In the end, they gritted their teeth and chased after him. Although the enemy was strong, the suction of the dragon's soul on the floor of Langia was stronger. It restrained the fear in their hearts. When they rushed to the third floor, they didn't see Tang Zheng's figure. Many dragon slayers were immediately attracted by the stronger dragon's soul. They all rushed toward the dragon's soul. Bang, bang, bang. However, they were all bounced back and crashed into the wall in a disorderly manner, crying out in pain. This wasn't because of pain, but because of anger. How could they not understand that all of this was related to Tang Zheng? Tang Zheng reached the third floor first and quickly set up a restriction to stop them from tormenting the dragon's soul. Recently, my house has been renovating and I've been troubled by various miscellaneous matters. I'm sorry for the delay. Chapter 1760. The dragon slayers were all blocked by the restrictions. Looking at the dragon's soul that was close at hand, this was a supreme delicacy, yet they could only look at it, unable to get close at all. This feeling was really uncomfortable, and all of them widened their eyes, their eyeballs almost popping out. Roar! The dragon slayers roared into the sky, their anger soaring, and roared toward the staircase that led to the fourth floor. Tang Zheng heard their roars, and was indifferent. If there was no time, he would definitely stay to destroy them, and not give them a chance to roar. He took the lead, and set up restrictions on every floor that followed, not giving the dragon slayers a chance to torture the dragon's soul. The higher the floor, the stronger the dragon's soul, and if the dragon slayers absorbed it, their strength would also become more terrifying. Tang Zheng naturally wouldn't sit by and watch this happen, and set up restrictions all over, not giving the dragon slayers any chance. But he wasn't happy at all, because the dragon slayers' leader's figure was nowhere to be seen, and there was no way to know which floor the leader went to. The dragon god fragment, he's definitely going for that, Tang Zheng concluded. Whoosh! He directly chased to the 9th floor, but there was still no sign of the leader. He looked at the stairs that led to the 10th floor, and his expression darkened. One had to cultivate the advanced version of the dragon god technique to enter the 10th floor, but the leader had entered without any obstruction. This gave him an enormous amount of pressure, but it also caused him to be extremely confused. How exactly did she accomplish this? That was the 10th floor, after all. He didn't have time to think too much. He took a deep breath, and rushed to the 10th floor with a whoosh, but it was still empty, and there was no sign of the dragon slayer's leader. Gasp! Tang Zheng sucked in a breath of cold air, and his eyes became gloomy. He didn't stop, and quickly reached the 11th floor, but there was no sign of a ghost. His heart became anxious, and he quickly rushed to the 12th floor. When he just set foot on this floor, he saw a silver figure at the entrance of the stairs that led to the 13th floor. Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat, his whole body on guard as he loudly shouted, "Stop!" The other party was using a divine ability, and the entire floor was rippling with a terrifying aura. How could Tang Zheng not understand the other party's intentions? He immediately shouted to stop them. However, this action did not have any effect at all. The other party turned his head and looked at him coldly. He did not care and turned his head away again. Tang Zheng was actually ignored. Tang Zheng widened his eyes and said furiously, "I told you to stop." He did not say anything else. The hidden sword of Xian exploded with a bright light in his hand. His body flashed, and he already flew towards the enemy. Of course, this person was the leader of the dragon slayers. When he heard the sound of something breaking through the air behind him, as well as that overwhelming aura, he could no longer ignore it. He waved his hand backwards, and a silver light shot out, hitting the hidden mystic sword. Boom! After a muffled sound, the hidden mystic sword almost flew out of his hand. From this, one could see how powerful the leader was. Tang Zheng was unmoved. Sword flowers bloomed from his hand, like thousands of pear trees blooming. The sword light instantly surrounded the enemy. The leader's pupils shrank slightly. He said in surprise, "You actually have such great ability. In the land of the Dragon Clan, when did an expert like you appear?" Tang Zheng snorted and said, "As a member of the Dragon Clan, you betrayed the Dragon Clan. You even led others to harm the dragon clan and devour the dragon souls of other dragon clans. You are too despicable and shameless. The leader snorted and laughed. I'm despicable and shameless? The position of Dragon King originally belonged to me, but it was taken away by that damned guy. How can I not be angry? Then why did you do such a crazy thing? Tang Zheng asked. The dragon clan was heartless to me, so I naturally will not be righteous. I will destroy the dragon clan and let that old thing see how wrong he is. I will let him see who is the most suitable dragon king. The leader said indignantly. Tang Zheng was very clear that the old thing he was talking about was the leader's father, the former dragon king. Your actions show the wisdom of the old dragon king. If he gave the position of dragon king to you, then he would be leading the dragon clan to destruction. Tang Zheng retorted. I lead the dragon clan to destruction? The leader sneered indifferently. I should lead the dragon clan to glory. Look at the dragon clan now. They are the ones heading to destruction. But all of this started because of you. Tang Zheng added. The leader snorted and said, so what if it started because of me? This is the price the dragon clan should pay. You really are a lunatic. You are unreasonable. Tang Zheng shook his head. He had completely lost interest in theory. He pointed to the stairs and said, you want to go to the 13th floor, right? Not only do I want to go to the 13th floor, I also want to go to the higher floors. The leader did not hide his intentions at all and said arrogantly. Then why did you stop? Tang Zheng asked jokingly. Do you really think a small restriction can stop me from moving forward? The leader retorted. If the restriction can't stop you, then there's still me. Tang Zheng was not sure if the restriction could stop the leader. After all, his strength was too strong. Even so, didn't he still have him? He saw him stand between the leader and the stairs without any hesitation. He was cold and fearless as he looked at the leader with a firm gaze. The leader curled his lips in disdain and said, you don't know what's good for you. How disappointing. Then I'll kill you first and then go take the Dragon God fragment. Do you want the Dragon God fragment that much? Then I'll let you take a look and broaden your horizons. Tang Zheng roared. His entire body emitted a dazzling golden light. He was like a golden man. His 5 fingers changed with a whoosh, turning into a giant dragon claw. Whoosh! The dragon claw grabbed at the leader aggressively. The dragon's might was even emitted. This was the dragon's might of the dragon god. It could specifically restrain other dragon clans. Even the dragon king was no exception. Back then, Tang Zheng used the might of the dragon god to intimidate the dragon clan. The dragon clan did not even dare to resist. Now he wanted to use the same trick again. After all, the dragon god fragment had a deterrent effect on the dragon clan. The other party was also one of the dragon clan. It was impossible for him to not be affected. The leader trembled as he looked at Tang Zheng in disbelief and asked, You've already fused with the dragon god fragment? The leader had seen the dragon god before, so he was naturally no stranger to the dragon god's might. He recognized it at a glance. Tang Zheng proudly raised the corner of his mouth and said, You have some eyesight. The leader's face sank and said, You're worthy of fusing with the dragon god fragment? Preposterous. He stretched out his hand and turned it into a dragon claw. The silver dragon claw directly grabbed at Tang Zheng. He was actually not affected by the dragon god's might. Tang Zheng opened his eyes wide in disbelief and exclaimed, How is this possible? Why aren't you afraid of the dragon god's might? The leader snorted and laughed wildly, Ha ha ha, if I were afraid of the dragon god's might, how could I dare to betray the dragon clan? How could I oppose the dragon clan? Chapter 1761. Tang Zheng was caught by the dragon claw. He let out a dragon roar and transformed into a true dragon. With a sweep of his dragon tail, he hit the silver dragon claw. Boom! The air fluctuated violently, and the gold and silver lights exploded like gorgeous fireworks. Tang Zheng quickly retreated, and the dragon claw was also knocked away. Both sides did not gain any advantage. Tang Zheng's pupils constricted, and he stared at the leader with his huge dragon eyes. He sighed with emotion. It's really extraordinary, no wonder the dragon clan is like a stray dog all these years. The leader raised the corner of his mouth and laughed proudly, of course. When I integrate with the dragon god's fragment, the dragon clan will be completely wiped out. While speaking, the leader's dragon claw suddenly grabbed the stairs leading to the next floor. Boom! Langya shook like the mountains and the earth. Kacha, a strange sound came from the stairs. This. Tang Zheng was shocked. He did not cultivate the advanced version of the dragon god technique to the corresponding level, so there was no way for him to go to the corresponding floor. How could the leader break through this restriction? Could it be that he had cultivated the advanced version of the dragon god technique? No. Tang Zheng was shocked. The leader and the dragon god were brothers, so it was not strange that he had cultivated the dragon god technique. It was not difficult to explain why he could reach the corresponding floor. This damn Langya didn't have so many restrictions in the past. That guy must have deliberately added restrictions later and hid the dragon god's fragment after his death in these floors. The leader looked at the stairs and muttered to himself, he must have thought that although I am no longer a dragon, I have cultivated the advanced version of the dragon god technique. Although it takes a little effort, how can these restrictions stop me? Tang Zheng was shocked, as he had guessed a little bit of what was going on. But his heart sank. The leader was not restricted by Langya, so the dragon god's fragment was dangerous. Once the leader integrated with the dragon god's fragment, the consequences would be unimaginable. I must not let him break through the restrictions. Tang Zheng gritted his teeth and rushed over, shouting, "Stop!" Whoosh! He stretched out his dragon claw and aimed at the leader. A black hole appeared, and a terrifying suction force enveloped the leader in an instant. Huh! The leader blinked his eyes in surprise and said, "That's interesting." The leader's body emitted a dazzling silver light. In an instant, the entire floor was covered in a layer of silver light. Roar! A thunderous roar rang out as the leader underwent an earth-shattering transformation. He turned into a giant silver dragon, and the dragon horns on his head were even longer than Tang Zheng's. The terrifying aura he emitted made one's heart palpitate. However, this dragon might was worlds apart from Tang Zheng's. His aura was extremely cold, completely different from Tang Zheng's dragon might. Although he still had the body of a dragon, he was no longer a dragon in his bones. The sky-swallowing technique's powerful suction force pulled the leader towards the black hole. The leader kept struggling, but he was still getting closer and closer to the black hole. Whoosh! He waved his dragon claws, and the air was torn apart. The aura of this floor was completely disrupted, like seawater flowing in the dark. Wave after wave rolled towards the black hole, trying to offset the terrifying suction force. It had to be said that this method was very effective. This stormy wave of power really offset a portion of the suction force. The leader's figure was suddenly stunned, and he temporarily broke free from the black hole's shackles. His eyes suddenly lit up, and he roared and rushed straight to the staircase. Stop! When Tang Zheng saw this, how could he not understand the opponent's intention? He flew into a rage and desperately urged the sky-swallowing technique. Suddenly, the suction force of the sky-swallowing technique increased sharply, and all the stormy waves of power were sucked into the black hole. However, it was still too late to stop the leader, and he used both his dragon claws and dragon tail. Boom! Boom! A series of attacks landed on the restriction at the staircase, and Langya stopped shaking. Crack! An ear-piercing shattering sound resounded through the sky, and the restriction shattered into pieces, disappearing into thin air. This. Tang Zheng was stunned. He never thought that he could break this restriction by relying on brute force. He couldn't do it, but the leader of the Dragon Slayers did. One could imagine how shocked he was. Ha ha ha, I told you that this lousy restriction can't stop me. The leader's eyes shone brightly, and he laughed arrogantly. The leader's figure flashed, and he rushed to the staircase. As if waking up from a dream, Tang Jing quickly chased after him. Since the restriction was broken, although he didn't cultivate the corresponding level of the Dragon God technique, he could still smoothly reach the 13th floor. Hiss! When he reached the 13th floor, he couldn't help but gasp. The leader of the Dragon Slayers was already trying to fuse with the Dragon God fragment. He rose into the air and flew toward the Dragon God fragment. Originally, the Dragon Clan was not allowed to fly freely in Langya, but the leader forcefully broke through the restriction, and even this restriction was broken. Therefore, he could fly freely. No! Tang Jing roared and also rose into the air. His speed was not slower than the leader's. Both sides reached the Dragon God fragment almost at the same time, and both of them reached out their dragon claws to grab the Dragon God fragment. Whoosh! Both dragon claws touched the Dragon God fragment at the same time, and two suction forces enveloped the Dragon God fragment, trying to fuse with it first. The leader glared at Tang Jing with fire in his eyes, and roared, "How can you touch the fat meat that's already in my mouth?" Whoosh! As soon as he said that, his dragon tail swept toward Tang Jing. Tang Jing was not to be outdone, and with a roar, his dragon tail also went up to meet it. Boom! Gold and silver rays of light bloomed, and two dragon scales actually flew up and separated from each other's bodies, leaving a large, shocking, and bloody scar. However, they continued to attack as if nothing had happened, and neither of them was willing to be outdone. Boom, boom, boom. The mountains shook and the earth shook, the dragon tails collided, and dragon scales mixed with blood danced in the air. Gradually, the air was filled with a strong smell of blood. Their eyes had also turned crimson, and they couldn't care less about their own bloody wounds. All they wanted was to be the first to fuse with the Dragon God fragment. In terms of cultivation and strength, the leader of the Dragon Slayers was superior to Tang Jing. However, in terms of familiarity with the Dragon God fragment, Tang Jing was slightly better. After all, he had already fused with 3 Dragon God fragments and had rich experience, and also understood the attributes of the Dragon God fragment better. "You're actually so tenacious. Trying to get a share of my Dragon God fragment, die." The leader of the Dragon Slayers roared furiously, and used both his claws and tail. 8 dragon claws grabbed toward Tang Jing together, and the dragon tail swept out with greater force. Fight! Tang Jing gritted his teeth, knowing that victory would be decided in this one move. How could he not go all out? Boom, boom, boom. Light bloomed, and this floor was dyed in gold and silver, mixed with the red of blood. Tang Jing flew backward, and the leader showed a smug expression, but in the next moment, his expression froze. 3 balls of light flew out from the dragon horns on Tang Jing's head, and they emitted the aura of the Dragon God. Chapter 1762. The strongest cultivator was on campus. The Dragon God fragment seemed to have met its loved ones as it quickly merged with the 3 balls of light. Tang Jing was secretly delighted. Those 3 balls of light were clearly the Dragon God fragments that he had fused with, and they were not completely absorbed and digested by his body. Now that this remnant soul of the Dragon God fragment had attracted this part of the Dragon God fragments, they took the initiative to break away from the Dragon Slayer leader's restraint. The 4 balls of light disappeared into Tang Jing's dragon horns. Immediately, Tang Jing's body bloomed with a dazzling golden light, making it almost impossible to open one's eyes. The leader used his dragon claws to block the dazzling light while roaring angrily, "Damn it, it's actually other Dragon God fragments causing trouble and ruining my plans." He was not stupid and had already seen through the clues. The Dragon God fragments that Tang Jing had fused with before were attracting the Dragon God fragments from the outside world. In this way, he was at a disadvantage. If he competed with Tang Jing for the Dragon God fragments at the same time, he would definitely not be able to win. "No, I forcefully broke through the restriction. How can I let this kid take advantage of me?" The leader was unwilling to give up and did not want to be entangled with Tang Jing at all. While he was fusing with the dragon god fragments, he rushed to the next floor. Tang Zheng looked at this scene helplessly because the dragon god fragments had already fused with his dragon horns, and he had to take time to fuse with them. Otherwise, the powerful energy contained in the dragon god fragments was enough to cause him to suffer a backlash, which would be counterproductive. Tang Zheng shouted unwillingly, "Stop!" Boom! With a loud bang, the restriction at the top of the stairs shattered. The enemy had only attacked once, and the restriction had collapsed. This restriction is so fragile, how can it stop me? Dragon god fragments, I'm coming. The leader turned his head and glared at Tang Zheng before charging in and disappearing from sight. Tang Zheng looked at this scene and already understood what was going on. The leader had forcefully destroyed too many restrictions and caused a chain reaction, causing the restrictions behind to become very fragile. This meant that the leader could forcefully break into the floors behind Langya Pavilion. Tang Zheng's mind was greatly shaken, as what this meant was self-evident. Ah! He threw his head back and let out a long roar, accelerating the fusion of the dragon god fragment so that he could catch up as soon as possible. Tang Zheng's entire body glowed with a golden light as the dragon scales that had fallen off grew back. Not long after, Tang Zheng's injuries were completely healed, and a section of the dragon horns on his head had also grown out. The dragon might emanating from his body grew even stronger, making others not dare to look at him directly. He stared at the stairs and growled, "I'm coming." Whoosh! He turned into a beam of golden light and rushed into the staircase. When his feet landed on the next floor, his eyes turned cold and his face turned pale. He watched as the Dragon Slayer leader fused a dragon god fragment into his own body. Immediately, his entire body was enveloped by a silver light. He has already fused with the dragon god fragment. I was one step too late. He stomped his foot hatefully, but there was nothing he could do. There was no way he could take the dragon god fragment out of the other party's body. He didn't have that ability yet. As for taking the opportunity to kill the leader, that was also unrealistic. At this time, the dragon god fragment was also protecting the leader, so it wouldn't be easy to kill him. Tang Zheng's gaze involuntarily shifted to the next floor. An idea came to him. Since the leader could forcefully break the restriction, then he could do it too. The two of them would compete to see who could fuse with more dragon god fragments. This was already the last resort. Tang Zheng didn't hesitate at all. His figure flashed, and he directly rushed toward the stairs. Boom! A beam of light shot out from the dragon horns and directly hit the restriction. Amidst the loud noise, a wave of ripples spread out, and then like a mirror, it shattered and fell to the ground. Tang Zheng quickly rushed into the staircase and reached the 15th floor. He locked onto the dragon god fragment in the air with a single glance and leaped into the air, flying toward it. Four balls of light shot out from the dragon horns and firmly locked onto the dragon god fragment. Whoosh! The dragon god fragment was absorbed into his body, and his whole body emitted a dazzling golden light again. The leader of the Dragon Slayers just happened to see this scene when he climbed up the stairs. He gritted his teeth in indignation. However, there was nothing he could do. He could only choose to ignore it and rush to the next floor. Boom! After a loud noise, the restriction at the stairs shattered again, and the leader disappeared from the stairs. Tang Zheng saw this scene, but he could only feel anxious and try his best to fuse with the dragon god fragment. The golden light receded. After fusing with the dragon god fragment, Tang Zheng's dragon might became even stronger. The dragon scales all over his body were like a layer of golden armor, majestic and awe-inspiring. He also quickly rushed to the 15th floor, but he was a step too late. He knew that this would be the result, but he wasn't discouraged. He didn't take another look at the leader and directly rushed to the 16th floor. Boom! The restriction was broken, and he successfully reached the 16th floor and quickly fused with the dragon god fragment again. After the leader chased him to the 16th floor, he only casually glanced at Tang Zheng before continuing to move forward. The two of them already had a tacit understanding. They knew that they were competing to see who could fuse with more Dragon God fragments. As long as they could fuse with more Dragon God fragments, they would have a great advantage in the final battle. The leader knew that he was lagging behind, so he could only catch up. He was unwilling to let Tang Jing fuse with another Dragon God fragment. There was a saint tool on every floor, and these two didn't even have the mind to pay attention to those saint tools. They only had eyes for the Dragon God fragment. Everything else was irrelevant and not worth their time and energy. After Tang Jing reached the 16th floor, he directly rushed to the 17th floor. When he reached the 17th floor, he was surprised to find that this Dragon God fragment was a little bigger, and its light was more dazzling. Its aura was more powerful, and it was fundamentally different from the previous one. Huh? Could it be that this Dragon God fragment is more powerful? Tang Jing shook his head and didn't think too much about it. He tapped his feet and soared into the air, putting this Dragon God fragment into his bag. Whoosh! Light shot out from every pore of Tang Jing's body. He was like a sun, extremely dazzling. Surging power gushed out from every pore of his body, making him feel extremely satisfied. This was an unprecedented experience. Somehow, Tang Jing already understood that this Dragon God fragment couldn't be compared to the previous ones. He was wild with joy, and quickly fused with the Dragon God fragment, trying to absorb the energy within as soon as possible. However, this energy was really too huge. It was impossible for him to finish fusing it in a short time. Bang! The leader of the Dragon Slayers reached this floor and just happened to see Tang Jing, and a strange look flashed across his eyes. He also saw the abnormality. He stared straight at the golden light that bloomed, and his eyes lit up. He muttered, "The Dragon God fragment at the back is more powerful. Langia Pavilion only has a total of 18 floors, and this is already the 17th floor. The energy of the Dragon God fragment is naturally more powerful." He raised his head abruptly and looked at the stairs leading to the 18th floor. In this way, wouldn't the Dragon God fragment on the 18th floor be the most powerful? Immediately, his blood boiled, and he looked at Tang Jing triumphantly. "Brat, although you reached the 17th floor first, this 18th floor is mine." "Huh, the heavens are on my side." Whoosh! He rushed toward the stairs leading to the 18th floor as fast as lightning. To read the latest novel, please visit the website. Please bookmark this site to read the latest novels. Read refreshing novels and reach peak. Chapter 1763. The leader of the Dragon Slayers rushed toward the stairs as fast as lightning and swung his silver dragon claw. Boom! With a loud bang, the mountain shook and the earth shook. The Dragon Slayer was like a kite with a broken string. He flew backwards and fell to the ground in a sorry state. What? What's going on? The leader got up and looked at the calm staircase. Tang Jing had been trying his best to fuse with the Dragon God fragment. Seeing the leader rushing toward the stairs, his heart jumped to his throat, but there was nothing he could do. What happened next made his jaw drop. He never would have thought that the overbearing leader would actually fail. He had already fused with a few Dragon God fragments, and his strength had increased greatly. But he still couldn't shake the restriction at the stairs. Didn't he easily break through the restrictions in front of him? Why was this restriction so special? This was the last restriction. Could it be that there was something mysterious or strange about it? Tang Jing's eyes lit up. As long as this restriction was strong enough to prevent the other party from breaking it in a short time, then the crisis could be temporarily resolved. Tang Jing didn't want to miss the opportunity, so he quickly fused with the Dragon God fragment. Whoosh! Surging energy flowed in his body, and golden light burst out from every pore. His whole body swelled up as energy supported his body. At the same time, he felt his pure yang power increasing rapidly. The energy of the Dragon God fragment was too powerful. It quickly increased his strength, and it also increased the pure yang power in his body. The pros and cons appeared at the same time, but Tang Jing couldn't stop, and he didn't dare to stop. He could only try his best to fuse with the dragon god fragment and increase his strength. He had to fight for that slim chance of survival. Otherwise, not only him, but also the entire dragon tribe would be wiped out. He naturally wouldn't sit back and watch this happen. The leader glanced at Tang Zheng and immediately felt the pressure on his shoulders increase. Tang Zheng fused with the dragon god fragment so quickly. If he didn't take this opportunity to reach the last floor, then his advantage would be gone. At first, he was confident that he could suppress Tang Zheng in terms of cultivation, but now Tang Zheng had fused with more dragon god fragments than him. As for who was stronger, the leader did not have absolute confidence in the strength of the two sides. Therefore, he had to fight for the dragon god fragment on the last floor. His eyes lit up as he stared at the stairs. He gritted his teeth and said, "No matter what kind of restriction it is, don't even think about stopping me." Whoosh! Whoosh! His entire body glowed brightly as streaks of silver light shot out from his dragon claws at the same time, intertwining together to form a huge silver pillar of light. Boom! The beam of light hit the restrictive spell at lightning speed, and a circle of ripples spread out from the restrictive spell. Immediately, the air on this floor rippled, and a powerful shockwave spread in all directions. The floor creaked, and the floor kept shaking, as if it was about to collapse. This was a much bigger commotion than before. However, the restrictions were still intact. The leader's eyes were filled with disbelief. "I don't believe it. Even if I have to defeat the Langya Pavilion, I will still ascend to the 18th floor." His whole body shone brightly, and his dragon horn stretched out from the top of his head, growing a few centimeters in an instant. He shook his huge body and turned into a ray of silver light, with his dragon horns in front and his dragon body behind. Boom! The dragon horns hit the restrictive spell, and in an instant, silver light poured out from the dragon horns like a waterfall, covering the entire staircase like mercury. This time, he was not sent flying. A wave of vibrating power spread out from the point of impact. Tang Zheng's pupils shrank when he saw this scene, and he cried out in surprise. He had already realized what was about to happen. The leader's eyes also lit up, full of silver light. He also realized what was about to happen. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and he roared, "Break!" Surging power shot out from the dragon horns. Crack! Cracks appeared on the silver light that covered the staircase, and then it shattered. Accompanied by a crisp sound, silver light sprinkled down like silver white flowers, flying in all directions. The restrictive spell disappeared without a trace. The leader laughed wildly, and the silver light on his body disappeared. He proudly showed off, "What kind of lousy restrictive spell is this? You want to stop me? Dream on." He did not dare to delay, and his figure flashed, rushing to the staircase. Whoosh! A figure was faster than him, and blocked the staircase. Bang! The two sides collided, and the leader took a few steps back, but the other side only took one step back. "You finished fusing so quickly." The leader glared fiercely at Tang Zheng, gritting his teeth and saying. Victory was in sight, and Tang Zheng, this Qing Yao Jin, had appeared. How could he remain calm? He knew very well what this meant. If he was not careful, he might even let Tang Zheng take advantage of him. He absolutely could not tolerate this happening. His body shone brightly, and he was furious. He said, "Do you want to die?" Tang Zheng sneered and breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he had finished fusing with the dragon god fragment at the last moment. Otherwise, the leader would have really succeeded. At this moment, not only was the true qi in his body surging, but even the pure yang energy was rippling non-stop, ready to move. If it was in the past, he definitely would not have been able to suppress this pure yang energy, but now that his strength had increased, his ability to suppress the pure yang energy had also risen. However, this was not a long-term solution. This was like a dammed lake that could burst at any time. Therefore, he was walking on a tightrope now. If he was not careful, he could be doomed eternally. However, he could not care less. He had to stop the leader and not let him step onto the 18th floor. In fact, he was also very curious about how powerful the dragon god fragment on the 18th floor was. After all, the dragon god fragment on the 17th floor was already so powerful that it was beyond his imagination. It was hard to imagine what the 18th floor would be like. Seeing that Tang Jing did not move and showed no signs of retreating, the leader knew that a fierce battle was inevitable. He could only rely on force to break through. He approached Tang Jing step by step. Tang Jing's pupils constricted, and the golden light retracted as he stared at the other party warily. Both sides were ready to attack. Without any unnecessary words, two figures, one gold and one silver, collided with each other. Suddenly, an earth-shattering battle broke out. Langya Pavilion shook, and the walls on all sides rustled and fell down, as if they could collapse at any time. Downstairs, the Dragon King and the Empyrean Fairy had gone through a fierce battle, and many corpses of the Dragon Slayers lay around them. However, there were too many Dragon Slayers, and they were too powerful. They moved forward almost inch by inch. However, they did not give up. Their eyes were very determined. When they heard an earth-shattering sound coming from below, the inverted Langya Pavilion shook, and their nerves jumped violently. Both sides looked at each other and saw through each other's thoughts. They gritted their teeth and said in unison, "Charge." You're tuning into the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.